Okay.
We're ready. Okay. Give me 5 or whatever. 5 rated.
It's TYT politics.
So I got my posse behind me. So basically, I am in the scenic corner of 41st and 11th. The bus depot is behind me. Javits Center, where Hillary and the rest of the status quo people, they are 5 blocks from me. And we don't know yet if she's going to win or lose, but I've been talking to folks out here about what's really important, which is the toxicity of money in politics and how it's creating a domino effect from there, whether it's economic injustice, environmental injustice, every injustice you could think of. And the people here, the main thing we're talking about is whether it's Hillary Clinton, whether it's Donald Trump, the bottom line is, how do you hold these people accountable? How do you keep people woke? You know, Bernie woke people up. Jill Stein has woken people up. How do you keep people woke? Is it nonviolent protests? Is it things like Wolfpack? Is it things, social media? And the bottom line is, the people here, they're not in the mood for a honeymoon for Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. They are here to... Okay, Jill not Hill. So they are here to fight. You know, not like Game of Thrones style, but you get the point. So we got a lot of Wolfpack people here. We got Wolfpack people here. We got no to the Dakota Access Pipeline, TYT viewers. I mean, I just posted this at like 10 a.m. today, and it's like 60 deep. So I want to get to Wolfpack specifically. We got Ryan Clayton, who runs it on the ground. He's all over the country more than I, and he's going to tell you what's going on and what the next steps are, if it's President Clinton or President Trump.
Thanks, Jordan. Appreciate it, man. So, hey, I just want to say, isn't it exciting to be broadcast live on the world's largest online news show? Hell yeah. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Do not heal. So, quote of the night. So here's what I want to say right now is we don't know who's going to win this election, right? We don't know whether it's going to be Trump or Clinton in the White House. I'll tell you what. It's terrifying to me that Trump is within a hair's breadth. He might win North Carolina. He might win Ohio. Literally, we're watching like somebody who could be like the first fascist president in our country. And what I want to say to everybody out there is that this is literally the first line of resistance. We didn't wait for day one. We didn't even wait for inauguration. We waited for hour one. We got our asses down here. And we started saying, you know what? No matter who's president, whether it's a fascist dictator or it's Hillary Clinton who's going to be pressured into doing the right thing every step of the way. Like we're going to be here doing our job as citizens protesting. We're going to demand the number one priority is fair elections. Next time we're going to get free and fair elections in this country. Elections should be free of the corrupting influence of excessive spending by outside interests, and fair enough that anybody can run for office, not just millionaires and billionaires and lobbyists and people who take money from foreign governments and spend it illegitimately in our elections. We're going to fix this problem. Clinton said she's going to do it in the first 30 days. Hillary Clinton said she's going to do it in the first 30 days. Do you believe her? Well, who's going to make her do it then? That's right. We are. You are. We got to get there from day one. We're here from hour one. Where are you? If you're in New York City, get down here. We're at 47th and 11th right now. 41st and 11th. We're going to march on the Javits Center if we need to. We're going to march down to the Hilton where Trump is if we need to. But I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to get what we demand. Free and fair elections. Never again will we have a money-drenched, corruption just soaked election in this country. We're going to fix this problem once and for all. We're going to do it with Wolfpack. We're going to do it with Americans Take Action. And we're going to do it with TYT. Hell yeah. Thanks for being here.
And I want to get one person in here. Come here. Hell yeah! Look at this guy. Okay. Hold up. Sorry. So, bottom line.
Sorry, guys.
This guy's joining us, a freedom fighter. Now, real quick, I just want to get to the point here. I talked to a lot of people here.
And get ready to walk. You might have to walk 2 miles to Trump headquarters if he wins. So, good news, bad news. Let me start with the good news.
Are they gone?
The lead in Virginia is down to 2 for Trump. 86% reporting. Okay.
61,000 votes. I'm trying to find those votes.
Who are you, sir?
It's not easy.
It's not easy?
And the rich,
Okay.
Oh, by the
So
way,
here's what
Richie
Ben
Rich?
means by
Another
finding the
bitch.
votes. Okay, this is
You
really,
voting
really
for Hillary
important.
Clinton?
So
And
there are
yes,
really
sir.
blue parts of Virginia,
Voting for
really
Hillary?
red parts of Virginia. It depends on which parts are reporting, okay? And so what Ben is trying to do is he's looking at the county by county level and saying, is there enough room for Hillary Clinton to close that 2-point lead in the blue parts of Virginia? So this, look, I got to say it, I think that we're, at the Young Turks, on nights like this, on election nights, we're pretty damn good at this. So a lot of the other stations, they keep their data guys behind the scenes. You never see them, and they never tell you any of the mechanics of how it works. And we tell you, we say, hey, look, here's the number of votes that are left in blue counties. Here's the number of votes left in red counties. And Ben is great at tracking it. John is really good at it. And so when he says, I'm having trouble finding the votes in Virginia, well, that's not good news. It's not over, but that's not good news. Okay, so for example, in Florida, we don't have as much trouble. He still has a 1-point lead, now 92% plus early voting in Florida, but there are the votes in Broward County to flip that. Although bad news. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the percentage reporting has been creeping up. It's now at 63%, but very few extra votes have come in.
For Hillary Clinton.
So there are
That's
parts
cool.
of Broward County that, doesn't mean every precinct in Broward County doesn't have the same number of people voting. That's obvious.
Yeah.
What I mean is, like, I can find these votes in Virginia. Like in Fairfax County, she leads 161,000 to 79,000. She's up by 82,000 votes with 156 to 244 precincts in. That's about 2/3. If the numbers came in the same way, and they could come in more, but that's a lead of 82,000 votes with 2/3 in. You take a third of that, that's like 30,000 votes. That's not enough. She's down 61,000 votes. City of Richmond is encouraging because the city of Richmond always comes in late. It's a little over half and 32,000 votes. So that's like another 25,000 votes probably for her there. And then it's basically tied. And then you're picking and choosing little bits here and there. But what is clear is that Virginia is going to go probably a half point either direction. Somebody's going to win by less than 1 point in Virginia.
Guys, hold on 1 second. I got to give one more thing here. It is fucking panic time. New Hampshire has flipped. He's now leading 48-47. So he's leading in Florida, Virginia, New Hampshire, North Carolina, and Ohio is now an 8-point lead for Trump.
They're going to call
with 42% reporting. So Ohio is gone and soon to be gone. Okay, so we're not freaked out by Ohio, but you should be freaked out by Virginia and New Hampshire being this bad.
And like little things. Wisconsin and Michigan, they're still early, but he's winning in both Wisconsin and Michigan. And all of this is consistent, which is a point that I try to make often, which is these things don't happen in a vacuum. Like if Trump made up 6 points in Virginia, he probably made up points in Wisconsin and Michigan and New Hampshire and all these other places.
Mark, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say the fact that we're sweating Virginia is in itself
terrible.
A flashing red light tonight.
That's right.
I mean, we're worried about things that you wouldn't normally think we'd be worrying about. And Ben, on the count, those suburban areas of Virginia, there are more votes there than in the entire state of Virginia, I think. I mean,
that's where the most. There's no question. That's where the most votes are. But we've counted a bunch of them. So like, they're already counted. So she's got to find
36,000,
61,000 votes, and there aren't 61,000 votes in Fairfax, and there aren't 61,000 votes in Richmond. And there's some votes in Loudoun County. You put them together, you might get to 61,000.
But now it's becoming improbable.
Right, because also he's got some counties. He's going to pick up some votes in the places that he's already had.
There's no reason to believe at this point that it's only her counties left in Virginia. Before there was reason to believe that. Now there is not as much reason to believe that. And by the way, there's two ticking time bombs here. One is this lead in these states. The other is percentage reporting. So every time I see one more percentage reporting in Florida and Virginia, and he's still holding his lead, tick, 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 you're running out of votes to count. So now Virginia's up to 87% reporting. He's still got over a 2-point lead. And in Florida, 92% reporting. He's still got the lead. Okay, New Hampshire still just 20% reporting. North Carolina, 49% reporting plus early voting. He's got a 1 point lead.
Here's what just happened. And this thing was at 80% 2 hours ago when we were talking the upshot in the New York Times forecast of who's likely to win. Donald Trump, now the favorite to win the presidency, 51%.
Jesus.
Some chance that it goes back and forth between Clinton and Trump at around in the 270s for popular vote. It could obviously switch again. This is, but that's how dramatic this is. That also sets up a possibility that I didn't think was possible because the forecasters said it was likely impossible, which was that Trump could win the presidency and Clinton could win the popular vote. No, that was always possible. Sorry, Trump could win the presidency and Clinton win the popular vote because they still have Clinton a likely 2-point winner in the popular vote because they're thinking she'll run up big margins. This model has her winning. Trump now at 53% forecast to be the president of the United States. It increases literally with every moment that a state like Virginia gets closer to being called for Trump. Wow.
This is the most haunting thing I have ever had, we've ever had on the Young Turks. 14 years we've been on the air, and we thought John Kerry was going to win in 2004. Me being wrong in 2004 about John Kerry stung me for so long, and not to get overexcited about your own side and to take all the bullshit that your own side puts out. That's the same bullshit that the Republicans believed about Mitt Romney winning. Okay, but this is Trump. We are fucking talking about a madman, incompetent buffoon being the most powerful man on earth. He now has a better than 50% chance.
And when you look at all of these extremely important states and you see that Florida is still within 2 points, that Virginia is within 1 point, 1.4, 1.3, do you think the Comey bullshit was worth 1.3%? I think it was worth 1.3%. That absolutely nothing story. They had absolutely nothing, and the media went crazy for it. Maybe Trump wins because of that bullshit.
And so the guys who talked about rigging how the system was rigged, ironically, as reported by The Guardian, they said FBI, it wasn't Guardian saying it was an FBI agent that talked to The Guardian and said, and they talked to many agents, it wasn't just one person. And that one particular guy with the quote said, FBI is Trump land. So a bunch of Trump supporters, the FBI put out a bullshit story 11 days before the election. They withdraw the story 2 days before the election, but the damage is done, especially in early voting. People voted thinking that the investigation was going to get restarted. So now, but by the way, all of that is crying over spilled milk. If he wins, he wins. And so none of it, you can't do a redo, and you can cry about injustice all day long. And the Republicans would cry about injustice, and maybe they would get something done because they move things, because they're strong. The Democrats, they'll fucking bow their head in a second, and we'll be done with it. And Trump will be the leader. So it's not over, guys, because she can win Florida. I've always had a little bit of hope about Florida, but now she's got to win Florida. Look, again, the lead in Virginia is down to 1.4.
1.3.
1.3 with 88% reporting.
30, no, that's Florida. I was looking at.
Okay, so, but North Carolina now looking worse every minute. He's now built up over a 2-point lead. Remember, she had the lead in the beginning.
41,000 votes in Virginia need to be found.
Broward's now at 75% too. I don't think
so that is not good news. Okay, 2% lead in North Carolina, 51% plus early voting in. And so, look, some people think that, hey, Cenk likes to be proven right or something. No, when I say I hope to God I'm wrong, I really, really, really mean it, right? So there's no joy here. I'm serious, man. Like, my fucking heart is constricting. So, and I don't like to say that because then the right wing gets so happy about it, like, oh yeah, ha ha ha. And God knows what the fuck's going to happen with Trump as president and what kind of damage that they could do, right? But I came in today with all the new polls leading in Hillary Clinton's direction, thinking, oh, thank God I was wrong. Well, by the way, I could still be wrong. I thought Hillary Clinton would win by a tiny margin. I didn't think she was going to lose. And here we are. So the rage in the fucking country is real. When are they going to get it through their fucking heads? But they won't get it. They don't get it. They don't get it. They don't get it. No. All my friends in Washington think she's going to win. Now, look, I'm being a dick because, to be fair, polling was indicating she was going to win. I thought she was going to win this morning, right? So the polling is relevant, but this phenomenon that we talked about on the show, which is there's polling and then there are unlikely voters that are not in the polling, right? And some of those, by the way, all of this is super real, right? On both sides. Some of that was Latinos who were not, not polled accurately because they do the polls in English. So the early voting numbers were real, that she did have the advantage in Nevada. In Nevada, we have no idea what's going to happen with Nevada. And in Florida, it looked good in early voting. All that is real. It wasn't a mirage, and she could still win. But it was also real that people want to throw a brick through the establishment window, and the Democrats keep saying, no. Let's go with an establishment candidate. Let's go with Evan Bayh. Let's go with Patrick Murphy. Oh, by the way, they're 6 feet under. They're done. They lost already. They lost miserably. Because all your stupid corporatists, you know what they're doing? Look, here, I'm with Jimmy. I'm against Jimmy, and I'm with Jimmy. I'm going to get to you in a second because we might have Trump as president, and then we'll see if you were right or wrong on whether it made a difference, okay? But the part I'm with Jimmy is now you've turned the Democratic Party into the establishment party. You've got a populist, but not in the Democratic Party. You've got him in the Republican Party. Now, he's a fake populist. I know that, right? But people want a populist. They want a populist. When is it going to get you through your fucking skull? But instead, we've got Evan Bayh, we've got Patrick Murphy, we've got Hillary Clinton. And they were so goddamn convinced that the American people like the status quo. Well, guess what? Newsflash, they don't fucking like it.
Yeah, there's a huge disconnect between the establishment and the electorate. They have no idea what the electorate actually wants. I can't even believe how this is going so far. And this is why I don't obsess about the polls. Yes, they're relevant. Yes, they're interesting to you guys. But I never look at the polls and think, oh, you know what, Hillary has a comfortable lead according to all of these polls put together and analyzed together. It doesn't mean anything. Okay,
it means something.
It means something, but it's not the end-all, be-all. People get comfortable. I think the establishment gets comfortable. They look at Nate Silver and they think, oh yeah, Nate Silver's got it going on. He knows what he's talking about. But there are issues with the methodology, as Cenk perfectly pointed out right now. You can't get comfortable. I am scared to death right now.
Yeah, and by the way, Nate was more right than the others, and then they mocked him. They mocked him for saying that Trump had a 35% chance of winning 2 days before the election. He lowered that number the day before the election based on polling. I said, hey, and no one criticized Nate Silver more than I did in the primaries. Ben and I got into big fights over Nate Silver in the primaries, okay? But he was right in the general election, okay? In fact, apparently not sounding the bell enough, right? Yeah. And all the cutesy guys in Washington were like, oh, Nate Silver, I do declare. None of my friends agree with Nate Silver.
There was a Politico article was like yesterday was I think it was Politico, forgive me if I'm wrong. Forget Nate Silver, the new guru is Sam Wang from the Princeton Election Consortium, who had it at 97%.
Yeah, just because you like that result. So guess who's not the new fucking guru? Sam goddamn Wang. Sorry, Sam Wang, I don't know you from Adam, and it's not your fault, okay? But like, I do declare, the guy who he's the one showing us the numbers we like. That's the new guru.
Okay,
no.
let's have a couple.
By the way, as we were talking, 54% chance that Donald Trump wins. It moved while we were talking. It just moved again.
Maybe we should
55% chance Donald Trump is going to win right now.
Stop saying the number. You madman.
So now that said, I have numbers which struck me as fairly encouraging. First of all, there are a lot of votes left in Charlotte, North Carolina, where Hillary Clinton has a 113,000 vote lead with only a quarter counted. That's a lot of votes that she could pile on if those numbers came in at the same rate, which would take a lead in North Carolina. Virginia,
that's very close.
Virginia has unquestionably, those votes have come in and has gotten close. Virginia, the lead is now 24,000.6. So
let me be clear about that. Virginia is super, super, super important. For you, for those of you who follow the percentages better than the raw numbers like me, the percentage is down to just 0.6. So that's the first encouraging thing I've heard in a long, long time.
Just a fun little
47.8 to 47.1, with Gary Johnson taking 3%, 89% reporting. 11% reporting is still unreported. Is still a big number now with only 0.6 points between them.
And just for interesting, because people are saying we're not mentioning the other candidates enough, and it'll change. It'll change. This is fun, but Donald Trump is up about a little bit less than 24,000 over Hillary Clinton. Jill Stein's at 23,300.
There you go. We mentioned Jill Stein.
It's all in good fun. It's just the future.
Well, it's not
country.
fun if Trump wins.
So like, suppose she pulled, as a gambler, Mark will certainly understand this, and Cenk, like, you look at Virginia and we think, okay, now she's narrowed this. There's still 10% out. She's been narrowing. Maybe she's going to win Virginia by 25,000 votes, right? Which would be great. We'll all rest a little easy because that's part of her firewall. But then you instantly go up to Michigan and you see, well, they've 15% in and Donald Trump is up by 50,000 votes. I'm going to guess they haven't counted Detroit yet, and a lot of Detroit, and that she's got a lot of votes there. But Michigan was the state I was most worried about.
Oakland County's half in.
Much more so than Virginia, or Florida was I thought Trump would win. So like you get, okay, we won Virginia, but it's like, and then we got to win Wisconsin, and he's behind in Minnesota. It's like a 4-team parlay now, and they reflect each other. They don't happen in a vacuum. If support for Trump is greater in Virginia, she's going to run into the same problems. We start counting Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. It's just to win all of those, just to maintain the firewall to let us get to Colorado and Nevada and hope, and New Hampshire too, which is also losing. So there are 5 things that can go wrong now, and we're trying to turn Virginia first so we can take a breath.
Okay, the chance of Trump winning the presidency, according to the New York Times, is now 58%.
58%.
Okay, I'm going to give you.
We did it 100,000. That's
So
something.
the only good news is, I guess, for us, and I don't mean Trump winning and all that nonsense theories about how. If Donald Trump wins, then you guys will get more viewers. No, we get more viewers no matter what happens, okay? I don't need goddamn Donald Trump to win. But yes, good news for tonight for us. We just passed 100,000 viewers concurrently. And so there's some confetti. Okay. Well, that might be our only chance of confetti tonight. So yes, 100 of you that shared the stream will get these Young Turks hats. And much more importantly, bless your hearts, man. We really appreciate it. And still keep sharing, keep going, okay? So share on Facebook, retweet on Twitter, and on YouTube. There's a share button. Send it out on Facebook, Twitter, and embed it in your blog. Send it to your family, because this election, you know us, man. We never BS you. If it was a cakewalk, we tell you it's a cakewalk. A lot of the guys on TV are like, oh, anything could happen. No. And in the morning, we came in, told you Hillary Clinton's up in the polls, up 4 points nationally. It looks good. Now, it doesn't look good. And it is definitely not over on either side. She's closing in Virginia, only down 0.6, okay?
0.5.
And now 0.5 with 90%
16,000 votes.
See, she can, look, and then what might happen, by the way, this is a perfectly plausible scenario. She pulls out Virginia and Florida. Now, it's possible, right? And then she wins with over 300 electoral votes, and everybody goes, it was just nothing. It was just, we knew it all along. We knew she was going to win easy, right? Well, and then I'm going to want to strangle them, because even if she pulls those out and goes over 300 electoral votes, this was not easy.
Right, it's not.
Well, yeah. But also, so I projected on my map that she would win Florida, because I thought it was 50-50 and her ground game would take her over. It was never she's 90% to take Florida. It's she's 51% to take Florida.
Yeah,
there's nothing easy about that. It's just an expectation that at the end it's slightly better than 50-50.
12,000 votes in Virginia.
Okay,
so
that's good news. That's good news. That's good news. Let me give you bad news. Okay,
you dick.
Okay, Republicans controlling the Senate. We were told, no, Democrats are going to win the Senate. Now, 83% likely that the Republicans keep the Senate. Mm-hmm. Why? Because the Democratic Party is totally fucking incompetent. So they think, okay, I'll fly the corporate flag, I'll fly the establishment flag, and they think that's a winning strategy. I got news for you. You can disagree with Jimmy and Steve and everybody else on who to vote for, a third party or not, but they are right. We've been right at the Young Turks all along. Being the establishment party is a miserable losing strategy. So
for now, but maybe in 2020.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, early on in our election coverage, Brian Unger was in studio, and he was talking about how this election represents disruption in every way, shape, and form, when it comes to politics, when it comes to the media. And if this doesn't disrupt establishment politicians and make them realize that people hate you so much that they're willing to elect an openly racist bigot like Donald Trump, I don't know if there's any hope for you if you don't get it through your head.
Okay, let me put it another way. So why have we been right at the Young Turks, generally speaking, about how much people hate the establishment? Because we're fucking smarter than other people? No, because we can actually look at numbers with a clear eye. So when Congress's approval rating fluctuates between 7 to 13%, so when they get up to 13%, they're like, yes, we're peaking, okay? They get down to 9% on a regular basis. That means the country does not like standard politicians. The country does not like the establishment. And the Democratic Party, in their infinite stupidity, are like, oh, I got it. Congress is despised. Give you a sense, a third of the people in the colonies wanted to stay with King George, wanted to be part of the British Republic. A third weren't sure. Only a third wanted to revolt, okay? Yeah. The English king was infinitely more popular than our current Congress, and the Democratic establishment thought, hey, let's keep going in the status quo direction.
Yeah, Trump's now at 59%, by the way.
Really, I mean, look, anything could change really fast. This is from Virginia.gov. She's up by 0.15% in Virginia.
Okay, so that's great because that keeps the firewall alive. But here's what's not going to happen.
Well,
Florida, the votes aren't there. The numbers aren't there. You can't do it, John. There's no.
No, I know. Like I said, the percentage of reporting for Broward kept going up, but the votes weren't going up.
So I think
it's
Florida
still got 25%, but
I got you.
She's not going to catch up.
But she's behind by. She's down 140,000 votes. I don't see 140,000 votes there in South Florida.
No, there's still like 40 counties in Palm Beach.
I got you. But we look at those numbers. She's up by 100 and she's up by 95,000.
It's not going to happen.
Okay, guys. So let's talk about the good news for a second, okay? Because Florida is now 95% plus early voting reporting. That's what Ben means. There are not enough numbers, and he has. I show 1 point lead. You can show it.
It's a 1.5. He's up
1.5.
by 140,000 votes.
Yeah. So she could make some sort of comment, but likely not. Okay. But the good news is, if she takes the lead in Virginia, which she's now headed in that direction with 90% reporting. Well, we're back to Virginia, Pennsylvania, Colorado. Oh, we barely made it. Okay. But if she takes Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Colorado, she still needs New Hampshire or Nevada. She needs one of those.
Yeah, and by the way, I mean, don't think we sweated Virginia. We're gonna frickin' sweat Michigan. We're gonna sweat Michigan.
Can't you wait until we sweat it?
No, because I mean, yes, of course, I know what you're saying, and I got it. But we talked about it this weekend. Like Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Michelle Obama. I think I'm correct, and Joe Biden. I think all 5 of them went to Michigan in the last 4 days. Like they all went. They knew.
Okay, I'm calling Ohio. So nobody else has called it yet. I'm calling it. It's a 10-point lead with 51% reporting, 53-43 for Trump. Trump's going to win Ohio. So Ohio is now gone. Okay? So that's, okay, don't panic over that. He was supposed to win Ohio. He wasn't supposed to win it by 10. So that you should panic.
He probably won't win it by 10.
Probably,
but, yeah, right.
but the fact that he's got a 10-point lead with 51% reporting. Okay, here, that's another thing. If you told me, hey, Cenk, it's 9:51 Eastern, Trump is winning by 10 points in Ohio with 51% reporting, I would have said, ah! Okay, not because you're going to lose Ohio. You expect to lose Ohio, but not good numbers if you want to hang on to Pennsylvania, Michigan, and the states around there. So, look, we haven't talked about Pennsylvania in a long, long time because we think the numbers are so incomplete. But, we need something encouraging. So she's got a giant lead right now in Pennsylvania, 57-40, with only 26% reporting, okay? So that is not going to hold. She's not going to win by 17. But good, with 26% reporting, a 17-point lead.
And Philly isn't particularly in yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It looks like less than 10% of Philadelphia is
There's a lot of, also, I just want to, there's some Trump counties also here, but there are a lot of votes in North Carolina left. A lot of votes in North Carolina, and in some of them in places that are very good for the good guys. and some of them for Trump, but his are more spread out over smaller places where there's still some precincts left to report. But 53 precincts out of nearly 200 out of 195 in Mecklenburg County. That's where Charlotte is. So in about 30% have been counted so far, right? In fact, right around there, 30% counted so far in Mecklenburg County. She's already ahead by 113,000 votes, and there's 70% still to count in the county. That's a lot of votes, and there's some other areas too around Greensboro, Fayetteville, where there's some votes left too. So I don't think North Carolina is. Is done either.
Okay, but he does have a 2.4% lead in North Carolina with 55% reporting. Okay, we've got to take a quick 2-minute break here, but 95% in Florida, he's got a 1.5-point lead. 90% in Virginia, and it's about tied. North Carolina, he's got a 2.4% lead. New Hampshire, he's got a 1% lead.
She's got a 0.22% lead.
Where are you looking at Virginia?
I'm at results.elections.virginia.
And they have higher numbers? Their totals are bigger?
89.76%.
And as we go to the break here, New York Times has the chance of Donald Trump winning the presidency at 59%. 59%.
What happened in this country?
We'll be. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more information.
I'm Jimmy McMillan. I represent the Rent is Too Damn High party. Now, I found this party over 10 years ago because people were playing a silly game. But today is a big day for our movement. I'm here today to address the issue. People can't afford to travel anywhere. They can't afford to go any place on the weekend. They're stuck at home. Why? Because the car rent is too damn high.
Car rent?
Yes, car rental fee.
Jimmy, you're changing this whole thing. It wasn't about car rent.
I'm not changing anything. You're just not listening.
No, Jimmy, get out of here.
Are you listening? Hit it. Rent is too damn high. My mustache haircut is too damn fly. I'm on a mission again to give the people my word. Car rental around here is too damn absurd.
Stop it, stop it. Now, Jimmy, this is crazy. This is supposed to be a political party. Did you sell out?
That's what you think.
Yeah.
We need 6 cents to change the game. To rent a car place to keep us sane. SIXT now on the scene. When car rental prices are out of the scene. Cause rent is too damn high. I say the rent is too damn high. I'm Jimmy McMillan. Here's the key. I'm riding with sick. Come and ride with me. The rent is too damn high. I said the rent is too damn high. The rent is too damn high. I said the rent. Any more questions? Not so fast.
only good news I have to report is that the Young Turks live stream's up to 112,000 viewers. Keep it going. Let's Beat TV. Keep it going. Can I see 200,000? Okay. Now I've got my New York Times likelihood of winning updating because I had to switch out and refresh on my iPad here. Trump, and it goes, and it kept going. It's like 50, 51, 52, 50. 61% chance of winning for Donald Trump.
This is insane. This is insane.
We got
87% chance that the Republicans are going to keep the Senate, in which case they would have Trump, the Senate, and the House.
And the Supreme Court.
Oh, and they'll have the Supreme Court.
And the Supreme Court.
Wow.
We won't switch it over for the first time in an entire generation to liberal, and assuming Clarence Thomas steps down and possibly one of the... If Ruth Bader Ginsburg steps down, we could have the most conservative Supreme Court since Dred Scott, possibly.
Okay, guys, man, it's doomsday scenario here. And so it isn't over, and now Hillary Clinton has taken the lead in Virginia. She still has the lead in Pennsylvania. Remember, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Colorado, and either New Hampshire or Nevada wins her the race. So we could have now a come-from-behind victory for Hillary Clinton in that sense. But by the way, that's not where you wanted to be.
Michael Shore says Fox has called Virginia for Clinton.
Really?
He's a reliable source.
Yeah, well, again, they're gonna just because they know where those last votes are. Then she's taking the lead, and she caught him, and those votes were there. So that also suggests that maybe that'll happen in North Carolina. Though, as I said, there are votes out there in North Carolina. Since I said that, he's increased his lead from about 85,000 votes to 100,000 votes in North Carolina. She's also narrowed the gap in Florida to where she's down 115,000 votes. But that's still.
Cenk, about just this thing we're talking about. All of these votes then have now skewed toward Clinton here in this moment. We say, oh, that looks more encouraging. It looks like she's going to hold Virginia and Pennsylvania, et cetera. But isn't that arithmetic being crunched into the big number that you led the segment with, which is that New York Times probability of Trump winning the presidency? I mean, aren't they accessing that same information?
They might have thought at that point he takes Virginia, possibly.
Yeah, so we'll see if they declare Virginia, will that move it down? I would imagine that it would.
But you're probably right.
But I mean, I'm thinking we're missing the story for the 100th time. She's going to, in my gut, tells me she's going to lose Michigan. She's going to lose Michigan. She lost Michigan already once, and she's going to lose Michigan again. Or at the bare minimum in Michigan, we are going to have the experience that we've just endured with Virginia, where we're going to be like, please, Detroit.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so
Detroit's split evenly right now.
So this is
that right?
Yeah. Okay. If she has won Virginia, that is really good news, and I would flip it back to, this is not the New York Times, this is me. I would flip her back to being the favorite, but by the hair on our chinny chin, right?
Not hers.
Not hers.
Yeah.
Ours. And so, but now Ben's got me panicked about Michigan, because if she's in good shape to win Pennsylvania, for what it's worth. If she's got Virginia, I still am confident about Colorado. I'm not as confident about New Hampshire or Nevada, and never have been. But she could win all those, and if she loses Michigan, she still loses.
Yeah, and by the way, and just for fun, New Hampshire, and while we're already talking about Wisconsin, don't presume Wisconsin.
Well, if she loses Wisconsin, she's gone. It's
okay,
gone,
but I mean,
right.
but it's again, there's no reason why Virginia would be close and not Wisconsin. The lead was the same or greater in Virginia than it was in Wisconsin, and Wisconsin is the same as the demographic makeup of Michigan, which we know got incredibly close, and and Ohio. These states don't have nothing to do with each other.
Okay, New York Times does not agree with me, and Ben is making great points about Wisconsin, Michigan, etc. They now have Trump at 64% chance of winning.
Jesus Christ!
Okay,
Almighty. I mean,
yeah. So look, one more number, then Jimmy, we're going to come to you. New Hampshire is now slipping away. 3% lead now for Trump. She had led now with 36% reporting. He has a 3-point lead.
Yeah, it's 2.5 points, and it's only 7,000 votes, less than 7,000 votes, and there's 36% reporting. But yeah, she's losing, and but there's a lot to count there, and it's very close still.
So there's only 36% reporting in Pennsylvania, and she still has a big lead of 14 points, right? But there's something wrong with those numbers. She's not going to win Pennsylvania by 14.
Not given everything else. No.
Yeah. So now, on the other hand, there's 56% reporting in Ohio, and he's up by 10. Those Ohio numbers do not bode well for Michigan, okay, or Wisconsin.
That's right.
So now all of a sudden our problem is Michigan and Wisconsin. And so, all right, Jimmy.
All the more reason why, if this lead in North Carolina can be made up, go ahead and make it up.
You know,
in North Carolina, by the way, just to be clear about this, this is super, okay, assume for a second that she holds on to Wisconsin. She can lose Michigan, but if she wins North Carolina, that's
Michigan and North Carolina are a push.
Okay.
They're the 15. Yeah.
Then she's back to needing just New Hampshire or Nevada to win.
Yeah.
Okay. So, man, there's a lot of different scenarios here. But one more thing before I go to John, Jimmy, etc. Look, if I had 6 toss-up states, and Michigan and Wisconsin were nowhere near them. So we're in bad shape in that regard.
As Ben's on Twitter points out, interestingly, while 538 went into the election, as you pointed out, more pessimistic about Hillary Clinton's chances, and the New York Times has shot up the chances of Trump winning, they still have Clinton at on 538 at a 72% chance to win.
538 always gets it right, too.
Okay, so Anna's being sarcastic.
I'm done with 538.
Okay,
I never want to hear about 538 again.
Why? They're like the smartest freaking guys in the room, and they were smarter about this than anybody else.
I still like him just for his Frisbee haircut.
Okay, so look, guys, it's 50-50, man. It's now we're past 10 o'clock Eastern. It's 50-50. So 538 has her at 72. New York Times has him at 66. And the reality is, I can see the map. I don't need them to tell me, right? So she's good. It looks like she's going to win Virginia. That's great news. Look, we thought she was going to lose just like half an hour ago. We thought she was going to lose Virginia. And then, good night, Irene. Good night, Robichaud. You're done, right? So you're not done now. You're not done. She's back in the race. So, and Florida is not a foregone conclusion. And Michigan is not a foregone conclusion. It's anybody's race right now. Anybody's race. There's only 36% reporting in New Hampshire, 38%. Now the lead for Trump is down to 1 in New Hampshire. Anybody's game. I would say I've never seen an election this close, except I have, and it was 2000. So
that worked out fine.
Yeah. Okay. Jimmy, you still think Trump, Clinton, no difference?
I never said there was no difference. That's a misreading.
Okay, that's fair.
I never said there was. I always said I'd never encourage anybody to vote for Trump. I think it's time. This is a confirmation that the country is. It's just crazy. We knew it in the primaries. I didn't know it was this bad. I said the other day, I think Monday, I said, I don't see people getting off their couch to vote for Hillary Clinton. They will get off their couch to vote against Donald Trump, but I think there are more people willing to get off their couch to vote for him because people are, it's a misread to think that the people in the country aren't hurting as bad as they've ever been hurting, right? I've said it a lot on the show that half the country is literally poor or in poverty, and we're the richest country in the world. People are working 2 and 3 jobs. People are crushed with student debt, and the establishment doesn't give a fuck. They don't care. Right? And so this is, literally, exactly what Cenk was saying. They're still running guys like Evan Bayh. They still the country rejected Hillary Clinton 8 years ago in favor of a black guy with a Muslim name, Barack Obama, okay? And so why it was going to be any different this time, I don't know why anybody thought that, but the DNC did, all the establishment, all the donors, they all thought that. Even with all those Republicans coming on her side, this is still how much people hate her. I still think she's going to win this election, but it's even surprising me. It's even surprising me.
So, John, can you pull up all those sites and make sure we get any calls on any of the states? Yes. I want to get back to Jimmy in a second, but what were you going to say, John?
The only thing I would add is, and I think you're right, it's totally about anger. The one thing that I think Trump has benefited from is very often when we push back against Trump supporters and say that they're driven by racial grievances and anti-immigrant xenophobia and things like that. Very often people will push back and say, no, these are poor people who have been hurt, which is certainly true. But at large, his supporters have higher incomes than Hillary Clinton's supporters. I mean, they're not just working class people that have been left behind by jobs going overseas. A lot of them are wealthier Republicans.
But half the country doesn't vote, right? So she doesn't inspire anybody to come out for her either.
Oh,
she
I
can't
agree.
get. So that's what. So yeah, maybe the people who are actually voting, but the problem is the people who aren't voting, right? So she's not going to get as many people to vote for her as Donald Trump, right? If she loses, what I'm saying. So again, that's you can't. Again, what Jen said, there's a populist in the corporatist party and a corporatist in the populist party, and this is what happens. And people ignored it. I mean, the DNC ignored it. They shut off the lights on the burn. They did everything to shit on progressives that they possibly can. They're still doing it. And if she loses, they're going to blame them for it. And they'll never take responsibility. And I don't know what happens to the Democratic Party going forward. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, because I still think she's going to win.
But that is interesting, because everybody's been talking about what's going to happen with the Republican Party. But at this moment in time, in this snapshot of what's going on in this country and in this election, you have to be saying just what Jimmy's saying, which is what's going to happen with the Democratic Party. I mean, the Democratic Party perceived now as sort of the mini corporatocracy. And this is a real rejection. And yeah, people don't jump off of their couch because they're not part of a movement to vote for Hillary Clinton, right? It's just... it's really a movement against Donald Trump, who has successfully passed himself off as a populist, which is remarkable to me. But
and so if let's say that this and 538 has a different assessment, almost diametrically opposed right now to the New York Times has it 70% Trump, 538 has it 70% Clinton. So
apparently, those are no longer being updated in the same way. They're referencing them, but it's not the same calculation. Apparently,
they have it by time.
New York Times has got it up to 73% likelihood that Trump wins.
And 538, 72 for Clinton. But I don't know if
that's the best news.
So why are they overestimating, based on everything that we've been talking about? Why is the New York Times overestimating the probability of Trump winning if we all have access to the same information?
They all run models, and their models feed the information that they have into that model, and it depends on the emphasis that they put on the model. The 538 still sees North Carolina as a 50-50 proposition, assuming this has been updated. I can't imagine that 538 would take tonight off. That would seem to be a peculiar decision, so I'm going to guess that they are updating it. But either way, let's say they're right. By the way, mercifully, the 538, they are updating it because it just dropped to 55%. For
her chances of winning.
So 55 to 44 now for her chances of winning. So I guess Gary Johnson at 1. Maybe it's Jill Stein. But like, suppose she wins 50 and she gets 276 electoral votes, right? Some number like that, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine, to me, the message for the Democratic Party would be identical to if they lost, which was, Jesus, we almost allowed Donald Trump to be elected. How did that happen? If their reaction to that is, if only we'd gotten Evan Bayh into that race sooner, and all that kind of thinking encompasses, well, then you're totally right. And they're never, ever, ever going to get it unless something dramatic happens. I would say that there's not a Democrat in the country who has any say in the future of the party that isn't getting this.
No, so here's where we disagree.
And I have a Senate call when you're...
Okay, so...
Sounds like it's good news.
By the way, in the Senate now...
the Senate's over.
They're going to keep it. It's now
72 for 5.
So, John, make the call.
So,
calls are most important.
If you could bring up graphic 40A, this is according to Fox. Now, they've called things prematurely in the past, but this one's probably going to go in this direction. Graphic 40A. Suspense.
Is this Missouri?
Is
this Missouri?
Just go ahead.
Okay, no, this is going to be North Carolina going for Richard Burr. The guy who said he loved that Hillary Clinton's face was on the cover of a gun magazine, And the only thing that disturbed him was that there wasn't a target on her face.
Deborah Ross, so she loses that race. So the most likely candidate, the best candidate Democrats had, ran for governor, and she was left to run for the Senate seat, former member of the North Carolina legislature. And, you know, that tells me that there's no comeback for Hillary Clinton in North Carolina either.
Okay, it's looking bad. It's
Well, Clinton is projected winner in New Mexico. It's one less state to worry about.
Yeah, it is. That matters.
Okay.
And by the way, maybe if it's a big margin in New Mexico, maybe what saves, again, as Anna and I talked about earlier tonight, if Michigan and Wisconsin come off the board and they come out okay, then maybe the Latinos end up saving us, and then Arizona gets stolen to reverse.
So
we need some bad hombres.
Look. Arizona right now with the very initial, well, not initial, over 1 million votes counted. It's basically tied, 583,000 to 576,000.
And it might turn out that we were right, that the slight difference that puts her over the top is that they worked harder to get the vote out. And that might be the case in Nevada. That might be maybe in Arizona. And look, it looks like she's going to win Virginia by like 1 vote. Okay, I'm kidding, but it looks like it's less than a percentage point. And so, you win by a percentage point if everything else is trending your way because you worked harder, right? So given this, could Trump have won Virginia and closed this race already? Yeah. If he had a ground game, this race is already over, right? So now, look, is the bad news, as I'm saying here, is
sorry, my
okay,
apologies.
Is that now 99% of Florida is reporting, and he still has the lead.
Oh, you know,
Florida's done. Florida's done. We're done.
Okay, New Hampshire, the lead is back up to 3 points for Trump, with 41% reporting. North Carolina, the lead is around where it was at 70% plus early voting. I've got it at 3 here, but it's probably closer.
Yeah, and New Hampshire is not as, whatever, everything's bad. But New Hampshire, if I could get, is a 41% in. It's still 6,900 votes. That really hasn't changed since going from 38% to 41%.
But remember, the raw number of votes, if they don't change as the percentage keeps getting higher, it makes it harder and harder to win.
It does, but it's such a small number of votes, and we still have half the state to count, and more than half the state to count in New Hampshire. So I'm sure I'm going to be depressed about New Hampshire later. I'm just not depressed yet about New Hampshire.
I still have New Hampshire as the most important state. I mean, it's of course ridiculous because the ones with more electoral college votes are more important. But in my calculus, she needed Virginia and Pennsylvania and Colorado. She still has all those. But she also needed New Hampshire, otherwise she doesn't win. Or Nevada. But I don't have her winning Nevada, and unfortunately,
yeah, and
I've been right so far.
I'm waiting for votes to come in to switch this in North Carolina, but we're getting to the point where there's just not enough votes. 132,000 votes down in North Carolina. She's going to make up a bunch around Charlotte, but I would be surprised, as I said in Florida, if you'll remember, those votes aren't there, and I can't find them. And
the New York Times has Trump almost 80% to win, 78% to win.
Yep.
And more and more states in their projections go into the red.
Pennsylvania now only a 9-point lead for Hillary Clinton, with 43% reporting.
I mean, and you heard so much during this campaign, Jack and guys, about the fact that he was running a lazy campaign. And by the way, I think he was running a lazy campaign. I mean, it's indisputable that she had the ground game, the Democratic machine was getting out there, and they bust people to the vote. And interesting how the mainstream narrative grabbed that, what seemed like a great storyline, that the early vote was this surge of Latinos who were going to, ironically, vote him out. I mean, that his enmity toward that segment of the population was going to be the very thing that did him in. It's a great storyline, but apparently it didn't have any real traction because it just is that. It's a storyline. Tonight, it's going to be a footnote.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yep. Montana's been called. It's not a surprise. But,
I already put it on the board.
Okay. Montana goes to Trump as expected. Soon we're going to have to start changing the dialogue to what happens in the Trump presidency. Oh God. Okay, we're not there yet, but we're getting there.
This country is so embarrassing.
Just keep in mind that we've allowed our government to get rid of habeas corpus. we've allowed our government to have a complete 24-hour complete surveillance state, right? Which that's the opposite of liberty. That's the opposite of freedom. And the people were warned when they did this. Like, yeah, it's okay because everybody likes Barack Obama right now. But what happens if there's the next president? And nobody predicted Trump then, but here we are. So if this does happen, it's a real loud call to we need to take back control of and get back to our values as Americans. We need to have the Constitution matter again. Right now, we've been letting the government do all kinds of unconstitutional shit. And the Section 1021 of the NDAA is unconstitutional. It was ruled unconstitutional by a federal judge. So those are the powers that Donald Trump might have if he becomes president. Those powers to put someone in jail without ever charging them with a crime forever. So there's so many things that we need to get back. And it is the crazy, Cenk. I never thought about it until you put it that way, that the Republicans are running a populist and the Democrats are running a corporatist establishment person. And that's just, I just didn't think it was going to happen like this.
And so right now we're in a situation that Jimmy made a great point about, where Obama did not make torture illegal. So here's what I mean by that. If he had prosecuted people who had done the torture, then it would have been clear that it is illegal and we're not allowed to do it. Instead, he said we won't do it anymore.
He
wanted to look forward, not go backwards.
He stopped torturing people.
Which was his word.
And we let everybody off the hook.
Which makes it a political decision and a policy decision as opposed to a legal decision. No, so the consequences of that is when the next president comes in, and Trump has promised over and over again, he's
worse than waterboarding.
Worse than waterboarding. Waterboarding was illegal in this country. Illegal. We prosecuted people for waterboarding in the past, including the Japanese when they waterboarded. Okay, it was illegal, and so when Obama said, "Well, now it's just an opinion and not illegal," and Trump comes in, he's going to say, "Yeah, see, even Obama, he didn't prosecute anybody, so that's it. It's now legal. It's back." And so America, as we now have an 80% chance that Donald Trump is going to be the next president, congratulations, torture's back.
So and then you're right. That's a great point. We haven't talked much about torture, and because it's crazy that we have to talk about torture. But this guy ran his candidacy on no, of course we'll torture people, and
intentionally hunt down the families of suspected terrorists and
carpet
murder all of them.
Carpet bomb, right? Wasn't that Trump?
That was more Ted Cruz,
but he agrees with the sentiment. That's the whole point of
killing
I'm sure
their
Trump's
families. Super against carpet bombing. But I harped on this before we started the votes. Like, man, he's going to appoint at least one Supreme Court judge, probably two. Tons of federal judges. Obama appointed over maybe 400 judges, and to say nothing of Attorney General Rudolph Giuliani. And as we hear, do you think Republicans, because they recognize Trump was a disaster, they all know it, right? And they know that this was freakish, and some of them will be smart enough to recognize that. So what they'll do is make sure that, man, we won. You know why they won North Carolina if it ends up being 50,000 votes? Because they don't let a bunch of black people vote in North Carolina. And every state of which Democrats inexplicably allowed Republicans to control legislature after legislature after legislature, they're going to pass these voting rights laws. And hopefully they'll come in front of some judge somewhere that was appointed by a normal person, and that judge might overturn it for a moment until it gets to the Supreme Court, when they'll be like, hey, each state, it's totally, to prevent voter fraud, it's totally reasonable to make you have an ID. And it'll become harder and harder and harder to vote, and all the voting will be on Election Day, and there won't be any early voting. All these things that make sense, that make participation in democracy easy and necessary for Americans, and they'll restrict it because they hold all the levers of power, and there's not one person in the House or Senate, or certainly in the White House if it's Trump, who's a Republican, who will say, I think we should let people vote. They don't have any of those people. The Democrats inexplicably have some people who are like, let's not fight this battle now. We got tons of those people, plenty, but they don't have any.
And we were hoping that perhaps we could repair the Voting Rights Act. We've seen now in an election what was done. Almost 900 polling places. Almost half of all of the counties being watched by the Justice Department cut polling places after it was gutted. We will not, if Trump becomes president, we will not be able to repair that. We will leave the Paris Climate Accords. We will take away regulations on methane. We will take away subsidies for alternative forms of energy. If we had a shot at stopping climate change from passing the critical 2 degrees Celsius mark, That is now gone.
Forget about climate change. Try just drinking water. This guy was talked about aggressively, has spoken about his desire to dismantle the EPA.
Yeah,
he wants to
eliminate it, just get rid of it.
Exactly.
Entirely.
So I mean,
let's be fair. He wants to get rid of the Department of Environmental.
Right.
That's what he said.
So if he can't find it, maybe he'll forget.
We're about to put the Department of Environmental into a guy who's environmental into the White House. Okay, so
do you guys remember his tax plan that he proposed?
All right, guys. New York Times has his chance of winning at 80% now, and the chance of the Republicans keeping the Senate is now 95%. So they're going to have all the levers of power. In a little bit, we're going to talk about what that means. That means Steve Bannon is in charge. The guy is a raging anti-Semite, let alone anti-Muslim, anti-Mexican,
I think
anti-black.
he's not raging anti-Semite. I think he's just a regular anti-Semite.
Sorry, regular anti-Semite. Okay.
Mainstream anti-Semite.
We're going to have Roger Stone
Oh,
be able
Jesus
to
Christ.
fucking run any hatchet plan he likes in America unabated.
Alex Jones will literally have meetings in the White House.
Yeah, the president will go on Alex Jones's show.
Okay, so he's out?
Who's out?
Okay, so in a little bit, we're going to talk to Michael Schur. He's inside Trump headquarters. So what I was just about to say on air is I wonder what they're thinking at Trump headquarters, because they must be jubilant. Because this is, look, everybody's got their own bubble, but it's not like they could have had some bubble where they thought they were going to win. But they saw the other bubbles. They saw the media saying 98% chance, 94% chance. They saw all that. So in their heart of hearts, they didn't really think they were going to win. That's why Trump was making excuses up until this morning, okay? So now, all of a sudden, they must be like, oh my God, we're going to win? Oh, like, oh my God.
I mean, I think among the Pauls who are in there, but I think, I talked about this with my brother today, that I was so worried about the reaction afterwards to losing because they live in this bubble. And so many of them are new to politics, and they were like, no, I'm surrounded by people who want my guy to win, and we're all going to vote for my guy. And the media's a bunch of Jew liars. Like, of course we're going to win. Of course we're going to win. So I think they'll feel vindicated, and they've shown the evil people in the media that they were right. So,
by the way, speaking of the so-called Jew media, which Trump's camp thinks is the case, think about our First Amendment rights. Think about freedom of press. I mean, think about the disdain he has from the media. For the media.
He said he'd sue them if they criticized him.
That's exactly right. And so we talk about all of these freedoms. We talk about all of these constitutional protections. We talk about issues like torture. I mean, any type of freedom you enjoy right now is basically in jeopardy. It's in danger. And
well, guys, we've got an 80% chance that not America, the world is about to hit the iceberg.
Yep.
If you thought Brexit was bad, wait till you get fucking Trexit, right? When Trump fucking hits, when this ship hits that fucking iceberg, oh man, I don't know. I'll tell you this: you got money in the stock market, you're fucked.
Stock market stock market is plummeted.
Yeah,
of course. It's your money is instantly that your pensions, etc. It is going to be in shambles.
He said he'd default.
Okay, instantly. Okay, Mark, last point, because you got to go soon.
I was just going to say, Cenk, you alluded to the FBI, and this is just a stark reminder of what the FBI used to be. It used to be, it operated at sort of the personal fiat of J. Edgar Hoover. It hounded Americans. It wasn't a neutral arm of government in any way. And I think that we're going to see, and you mentioned it, there's already a cell of the FBI that is in bed with Trump, certainly looked to have been behind this entire Comey situation. Anyway, in a Trump presidency, it's a return to the J. Edgar Hoover days. The FBI becomes an instrument of harassing Americans. It's a bleak night. It really is a bleak night. Environmental, personal liberties, civil liberties, and when I think about what this the big brother could do under Trump presidency, it's alarming.
Nate Silver, by the way, I just was going to repeat, I didn't want to interrupt you before because he had it at 60% for Clinton, and then you finished talking and tossed to Mark, and it went down to 55%, and then Mark talked for 45 seconds, and now it's 44%. So now, 538 with a much more significant chance than the New York Times, but now there is an agreement that the
Right.
favorite to win the presidency
Yeah, he's fine
is
about it around.
Donald Trump.
Okay, iceberg straight ahead. Okay, now also straight ahead, Michael Schur. He's in the building. He's at Trump headquarters. Let's go to Michael right now. All right, Michael, what's the mood inside Trump headquarters right now?
You know, it's interesting, Jake. On one side, you have the press office, and it's in the press office, it's very somber, where the filing room is, where we are. It's very quiet. Everybody's had Fox News on all night, and then you go around the corner and you go into what was a quiet sort of hall for a while, and then people have been teaming in all night, and it's been getting busier and getting a little bit more jubilant as the night has gone on. I mean, every time that they threw up one of the states, as you can expect, the place kind of went nuts. I spoke to someone earlier who said that until it's done, they're still concerned about what the blue wall was, and but that was a while ago when the blue wall seemed even as things started going south for the Clintons, or north for the Trumps, as you will, the blue wall still seemed impenetrable at that point. Right now, it's not so.
So, do you have a sense yet from any of this Trump staff that they think they're going to win? Is it like, do you think they
Kellyanne
passed the
Conway
tipping
came
point
out
in
a
their
little bit.
minds?
Kellyanne Conway came out a little bit ago and said that she does think that they're going to win, and she's not surprised, and they did pushes in different states, and of course, all the things you'd expect them to say, which they're entitled to say if this is how it comes out, which is we never believed the polling. We were sending our candidate into states and people thought it was willy-nilly, but we were sending him there because our polls thought that if we go outside into the suburbs of the big cities, as they did in Charlotte, as they did in Durham, and in North Carolina, as they did in Grand Rapids instead of Detroit, that we would have these kind of results. They did it in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. They did it in smaller places, and they got people out. And she was saying that, listen, if you can get 4,000 people to wait 3 hours to go into a rally, you can get somebody to wait an hour to vote. And we expected that was going to happen. So, of course, this is what they would say. It's not done yet, but there is certainly, I think, it began here quietly, and as you can imagine, because I think we've all gone in a sort of reverse emotional way. I mean, I'm totally shocked. I got this thing completely wrong so far. But again, the night is not over, and I don't know what these percentages mean. I just know that the stock market's going way down, and that's the thing I've been following. It started going down when when the James Comey stuff came out, then it started going back up. As it looked as if Clinton was going to do better, and now tonight it's just been plummeting. I also don't know what Dow futures are.
So, Michael, it looks like they're getting ready, and they should, because right now New York Times has them as a 80% favorite. But by the way, guys, this race is not over, okay? So there is still a possibility that she holds on in exactly the way that I said, which is holds Virginia, Pennsylvania, Colorado, and New Hampshire. That is, or Nevada. That is still possible. 20%, just like 20% for Trump was not impossible, right? That's what we said on the Young Turks. Just because Trump has a 20% chance of winning doesn't mean that he's not going to win. He might. Same thing right now for Hillary Clinton. Just because she has a 20% chance of winning doesn't mean she's not going to. And by the way, Nate Silver has at a 44% chance of winning. So this race is nowhere near over. Having said that, Michael, you were very bullish on Hillary Clinton's chances. What do you think went wrong here? What's your instant analysis on why this race didn't go anywhere near as expected?
Cenk, I couldn't hear all that. I heard you up until Michael. You were very bullish, and I'm going to continue just assuming what you were going to ask. Yes, I was very bullish, and I was bullish for a number of reasons. Having been, on the road for the better part of a year and a half, covering this intermittently and consistently. I saw, what I thought was I was even this week, Cenk, underwhelmed by the turnout at these Trump events, not the passion, but the turnout. And I just sort of thought that these people were not the kind of people that were able to build coalitions except in those spots, in those spaces. But the professionals who got involved with this, and the people like Steve Bannon who went to these states, said, no, that's the way you do it. And I doubted it. And that was really why, even as it got closer and closer, even through Comey, and forgetting Johnson and Stein and all of that, I just thought that this was an inevitable thing that Clinton was going to win this time. And I thought she was, strong in the places she needed to be strong.
And so far, it certainly has not turned out that way. Michael, obviously, we need you to stay put right there because we get a lot more reactions out of the Trump team either way. If they go on to hold the lead, then they're going to begin to tell us what they're going to do in a Trump presidency with a Republican Senate and a Republican Congress. So buckle up, Michael. You're going to have a lot of news there. If
I've got
Hillary
nowhere
Clinton,
to go.
Yeah, that's right. If Hillary, and by the way, if they do win, make sure they don't arrest you by the end of the night. Have an exit strategy.
They have to pull me off a ledge, I think, before they arrest me.
And then, if it turns out that Hillary Clinton comes back and wins in the scenario that we outlined, boy, they are going to be super mad. So we will definitely come back to Michael later tonight. Thank you, man.
I'd love to file that report.
Yeah, that would be a great report to file. Okay, they're listening, Michael. Be cool. Okay. All right, thank you, man. Now, Alonzo Bowden is joining us in the studio. Alonzo, great to have you.
Thank you.
So, look, guys, there's still a lot to report here. Let me, before I go to Alonzo, give me a second here to read all the numbers for people here, because Ben stepped out for a second. So, North Carolina is at 50.4 to 47, and so that's really bad, really bad. Precipice of being called. John, Ohio is called, right?
Yes, for Trump.
Ohio is called for Trump. Now, I called it earlier, so if you were relying on me, you were right. But now others have joined that call. Ohio is gone. That's Trump. Okay, John, can you pull up some of these numbers
what are you
here?
looking for?
Give us the latest on New Hampshire, Florida. I know you guys say Florida's pretty much done.
I mean, he's up by 1.5% with 1% left to report.
So the only thing that gives me a pause there, John, is the stat you had before with Obama getting 40,000 extra votes the next day based on extra counting.
I mean, he's up by 140,000 votes right now.
Okay, yeah, so that is
probably
this close to being called for Trump, because the raw numbers there matter. If you only have 1% left and making up 140,000 votes is very, very difficult. So let us assume now that Florida is gone. Now that limits your options greatly. Has anyone else called Virginia other than Fox News?
Yeah, multiple places have called.
So Virginia is now solidly Hillary Clinton.
Yes, I believe CNN and Breaking News both did.
So Hillary Clinton has won Virginia. It is called, okay? So that's great news. If she hadn't, it would be over. The race would be over if she had not won Virginia. And she won it by about this much. So as it is, the race is not over. So that brings us to New Hampshire, John. What do you got there?
So right now he's still up by almost 2.5 points, it looks like. He's up by 9,000 votes. And most of the big counties are in. I mean, there's still...
What percentage reporting?
Hold on a second, let me pull that back. For some reason, New York Times has like 5 different ways you can view the data. None of the pages contain all of it. They all break it down into little bits. New Hampshire still got halfway to go. I'm gonna spend a few minutes looking at some of the individual areas that still haven't reported and see how it's likely to shake out.
And then give me Pennsylvania real quick.
Pennsylvania, she's still up by 5 points, and it's 55% reporting.
So the good news out of there is 55% reporting. Now that's a solid number. The bad news is it's down to a 5-point lead. Remember, she had the 17-point lead, then the 9-point lead, then the 7-point lead, now down to a 5-point lead. So that is, it's not trending great. And so with him likely winning Florida and North Carolina, options foreclosed. The only thing left is the Uyghur path. Virginia, Pennsylvania, Colorado, and either New Hampshire or Nevada. That appears to be her chances. And in that scenario, she still has to hold Michigan and Wisconsin. As I look at the map here, that is still leaning red. If Michigan or Wisconsin goes red, you call the election.
So they're saying that Arizona is looking better than it did before Election Day for Hillary in terms of how she's doing in some of the western portions, but it's still not expected to go for her.
And Colorado leaning blue. That is good news. Okay, Alonzo, we've got madness that just broke out. What's your take on this?
Well, like so many other people, I didn't see this coming. I didn't expect it. You know, America's full of surprises. What did P.T. Barnum say? No one ever went broke underestimating the intelligence of the American public. This is one of those situations where progressives, the left, whatever you want to call it, very confident, and the fact that Donald Trump never really gave a policy, never gave anything. People are like, well, no one's going to take him seriously. But I guess one more time, he has been, right now anyway, he's been underestimated. This is the first time I have ever been physically scared during an election. I don't know what happens to the United States if Donald Trump wins. I don't think anyone knows because we don't know what his plan is. And
I don't think he knows what his plan is.
I can imagine the rest of the world is looking at us right now like, oh my God, like we're talking. You got people talking about leaving the United States. The rest of the world is like, where are we going to go?
Yeah. I'm not picturing there. I hadn't thought about the rest of the world so much because we're panicking as it is, right? But now, the minute you said it, Alonzo, I picture that poster, the Scream poster.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's what the rest of the world is doing right now. They can't. They're in even more shock than I think we are.
They apparently called Colorado for Clinton.
Thank God. Colorado's been called for Clinton. So Virginia and Colorado on the map. Now her lead in Pennsylvania is down to 4. But if she holds Pennsylvania, then hold on, because all she needs is New Hampshire or Nevada. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Come on, Nevada.
I know, seriously.
Assuming she wins Michigan and Wisconsin.
I was just Michael. We've had him on the show multiple times. He said, "Your faces don't look happy on the show," and I was just thinking, imagine reform of the police in the next 4 years. Donald Trump, conservative Supreme Court, Republican House, Republican Senate. Imagine trying to reform the police. Imagine how he'll deal with the protesters.
Oh,
in
you
North
think
Dakota.
you're nervous?
Exactly. No, exactly.
You think you're nervous
That's a
about
great
the
point.
police?
Well, I was hopeful that we could do something in the next decade.
You should go back to the shorter hairstyle that you had.
Exactly.
I think it'll bode well.
Imagine, we just got gay marriage. Well, what could happen with a right-wing, crazy, extremist Supreme Court? They could potentially take it away. Think about reproductive rights in the next 4 or 8 years.
Oh my God.
They're not fucking around. Look at what states have been doing to women's reproductive rights. And now imagine hundreds of federal judges appointed by Donald Trump and confirmed by a Republican Senate. Imagine what will happen with all of the issues that we care most about, the values we hold most dear, and they will be unstopped. Every branch of government dominated. All the states, state legislatures, for the most part, dominated by Republicans. Governorships, mostly Republicans. Imagine what this country will look like after 4 or 8 years of Republicans getting what they've sworn so much that they've wanted. Donald Trump has not hidden his plans. It was clear to us. And now we get to see what happens when it's him and it's Mike Pence and Rudy Giuliani's there. Maybe Chris Christie eventually ends up in the cabinet.
Okay, well, look, we saved the cabinet talk because, Bob, oh boy. Okay, we got Newt Gingrich, Secretary of State. It's a list that was already put out. It leaked to NBC News by the Trump team. Giuliani as Attorney General.
Wow. Jesus Christ.
Okay, he said I'm going to bring stop and frisk back. I mean, Alonzo, Jesus Christ.
Nationwide.
They do stop and frisk nationwide.
Here's the thing, and as horrible and as scary as it sounds, maybe this is what America wants. I mean, maybe this is the America that they want to do away with everything you said, reproductive rights, the police, any kind of, checks and balances or whatever you want to call it on police power. The Latinos are going to catch hell. They may have to carry their papers with them and so on. Gay marriage,
do we keep a minimum wage at the federal level? Maybe not.
But this may be what America's saying that we want this. Maybe this is their idea of making America great again. Obviously, I don't agree with it, right? I live in California. My hope is that we are pretty well insulated from a lot of this. California is kind of its own thing, but this is obvious. This is the thinking in the South. This is the thinking in a lot of the Midwest. They're going to start confirming judges right away. Mm-hmm. So it's unfortunate, but it may be what America wants, or worse, dare I say, what America deserves.
It is really interesting that the continuous argument that you hear from the right is this idea of individual liberty, this idea of freedom, when in reality, so many of the freedoms that they enjoy on a daily basis will be snatched away from them. Oftentimes when we talk about the destruction of reproductive rights in red states, The people who are still protected are those who are wealthy, right? You're in Texas. You don't have to worry if you're not living in a rural area and you don't have access to a Planned Parenthood, right? All you middle-class individuals who just voted against your best interest, you don't have access to that type of reproductive, freedom, that kind of reproductive health. I mean, there's so many things that people take for granted, and you got fooled by a simpleton who uses simple sentences that appeal to you. I don't think America realizes that if this guy wins, we're in a world of trouble, every single one of us, including the people who voted against their best interests tonight.
He says he'll take away Obamacare. And we know that the Republicans in the Senate and House will back him up.
Okay, guys.
Tens of millions of Americans could lose their health insurance as a result of this. It literally will kill people.
No, it will kill people. You have a pre-existing health condition, insurance companies will do away with you as soon as the Affordable Care Act is repealed.
So, look, another thing I said, I told you to not assume that you don't live in a swing state. Some people are like, oh, no, it's not a swing state. Wisconsin's not a swing state. Michigan's not a swing state. Wrong. So let's take a look here. I haven't given you these numbers in a while, and they are not good. Wisconsin, 48% reporting. That's a lot reporting. He has a lead, 48.3 to 46.5. He's got about a 2-point lead with nearly half of Wisconsin reporting. Bad news. Michigan, 38% reporting. He's got a 4-point lead, 49.5 to 45.5. Hey, anybody remember who did really well in Michigan in an unexpected way? That's goddamn right. It was Bernie Sanders. But we were told that we're not smart. The establishment is smart. They're playing three-dimensional chess. So, no. She lost in Michigan to Bernie Sanders because they don't like her. All right, slight good news. As I was talking, numbers got updated, and now his lead is down to 3 points in Michigan. So he had a 4-point lead, now down to 3 points, still just 38% reporting. So she can close. She can win Michigan and Wisconsin. She can still win all the states that we were talking about. But let me tell you something. If she does, it's not really a comeback because we all voted earlier, okay? And then the votes get counted, so doesn't happen in real time. But in terms of how it is perceived and how it would be in our world, right, as we're looking at this today, it would be a hell of a comeback. She's a prohibitive underdog at this point. So I've got a lot more ramifications. Oh, wow. For the Trump presidency, brace for impact. New York Times now saying the chance of a Trump presidency is 92%. Brace for impact. Okay.
How nervous are they?
The Trump people, right?
No, the New York
Times.
Times.
Oh, New York Times.
He doesn't
the
like
Trump
them.
presidency is not going to be good for the New York Times.
Yeah, well, maybe they should have listened to us that it was not in the bag. I'm Huffington Post. What happened to your fucking 98.4%? What happened to you? They said they was at 98.4%. And I keep picking on them.
Well, that
but they
leaves
were not
almost
alone.
2% chance.
They were not alone. All the fucking idiots in Washington and New York. Oh, you guys are worried about nothing. You're worried about nothing. All your talk of populism and the country being mad at the establishment. They're not mad at the establishment. No, we got this thing. We got it. And I guarantee you what they're thinking right now at the DNC is, goddamn Bernie Sanders. Okay, and his supporters.
No, but that's
You know what?
the amazing thing, right?
Yep.
They're going to go ahead and blame him and his supporters for demanding something different from the status quo, when in reality, the DNC is responsible for this. The DNC took a huge role or had a huge role in what happened tonight. There was a candidate that represented, a populist ideology that would actually work in favor of the majority of Americans. But they went out of their way to manipulate the primaries to ensure that he did not win the nomination. So that's part of the reason why we're here, a huge part of the reason why we're here right now.
And they limited the debates, which limited Bernie's message, and we all know that wherever Bernie's message got out, it was a winner. People loved it. And right now, Max Blumenthal just tweeted out that Hillary is underperforming with young people and Trump is overperforming with the rural people. If there was only a candidate who did well with both of those people.
But they'll get the exact wrong lesson from that. They'll say, you see that? The Bernie kids didn't show up. the Bernie kids screwed us. That's what they'll say, right?
Yeah.
So because so this is very important, guys, because it's not that and this is the point of disagreement that I have with Ben at times. It's not that the Democratic Party got it wrong and they had the wrong opinion about who was more likely to win. It's that they are the establishment. So they didn't want Bernie Sanders winning almost no matter what.
Yes.
Because,
yes.
Because if Bernie Sanders wins, a lot of them are out of a job.
Yeah, it was more.
I know some of the people in the Hillary Clinton campaign. They weren't going to get hired by Bernie Sanders because they think the way that the establishment does, and they're corporatists. And every one of those guys was going to be out of a job. So for them, it was a matter of life and death. So they're like,
that's pretty good.
Sanders wins, Trump wins. What's the difference, right? So in a sense, they betrayed us, right? Because it wasn't about politics for them. It wasn't about policy for them. It was about their own personal gain. Am I going to have a job or am I not going to have a job? With Bernie, I'm not going to have a job. With Trump, I'm not going to have a job. I don't care. I'm going Clinton, whether it's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. It's not that they were mistaken. They accurately assessed that they would be out of a job if Bernie Sanders was president. So that's why the DNC did not work on behalf of Democratic voters. They worked on behalf of their own goddamn jobs. And so here we are. Thanks a lot. As we speak here about almost at 11 o'clock Eastern in our live coverage, Donald Trump has a 92% chance of becoming the next president. 93% chance. And I just cannot emphasize it to you enough. Donald Trump is a buffoon. He's a reality show star. We just handed the keys to the kingdom to a guy who is a clown. Alonzo referred to P.T. Barnum earlier. He is P.T. Barnum. He put on a good show, and a lot of people out there in the country were like, hey, man, we're mad at the establishment. I want change, any change. Yeah. The only people offering me change are the Republicans. All right, I'll go for that, right? And so now, buckle up. You're going to get change.
So, do you really think it's all about change from the Republican side? Now, getting really quick on the Democratic thing, I think it's just a matter of the DNC can never organize to win a fight. You have to come together to win the fight, even if you don't like the candidate or whatever. You have to come together and stay on point. And the DNC's never been good at that. But I think the thing, some of it is fighting the establishment, but it's just what you said. It's the simple message. The simple message. Muslims are bad. Mm-hmm. They're terrorists. Mexicans are bad. They're taking your job. Black people are criminals. They want to kill the police. The messages are that simple, and I think that's what America's hearing. Not so much, not the anti-establishment on the big scale, not the anti-Washington on the big scale. Some people hear that, but I think those simple messages resonate with people. People don't think, and people don't go to the next level, like the insurance thing you were talking about. This idea that, well, if you buy your insurance in another state, as if 50 million people from California would buy insurance in Nevada and the rates wouldn't go up in Nevada. But people believe that. I don't know if it's as much the anti-establishment as people locking on to a simple message.
Yeah, and look, speaking of that simple message, the one thing that you would see over and over again in polling in terms of who individuals trusted more, they would trust Trump more because he does speak in a simple way. He never sounds calculated, even though he's an idiot, right? At the same time, Hillary Clinton sounds extremely calculated. And even though Trump lies way more than she does, people think that she lies more just because she thinks about everything before she says it. She does come off as robotic. She comes off as a career politician, an establishment politician, and that doesn't speak to or resonate with a lot of members of our electorate that feel like they've been burned by the establishment. I mean, she messed up bigly, as Trump would say.
We got to take a break, guys. So, look, I got 1,000 things to say about that. I forgot to do a video for you guys before the election about a Trump supporter that Michael Shura interviewed. That was really the essence of what happened in this election. We'll get to that as well. And when we come back, more bad news because Michigan and Wisconsin trending badly, New Hampshire trending badly, and so North Carolina nearly gone, as we've been telling you, almost done now.
I believe Fox News is called North Carolina.
Fox News is called North Carolina. I was going to call North Carolina earlier. It's done. North Carolina's gone. so that those dreams are at an end. So she still has a chance. It's not a good one. We'll take a quick break and come right back. The terror. Well, you know, we call this place Rebel Headquarters, and we were rebelling against the establishment. And now this will be true Rebel Headquarters as Trump and his cronies begin their march against our freedoms. So we're going to do analysis on the extent of the damage that could be done once the election is called. And it is not going to be pretty. And then we might literally be targeted. So remember Alex Jones and Roger Stone bust onto our set in the RNC, and there were no consequences. They walked around. They didn't get arrested. They didn't get escorted out of the building, and they laughed about it. And so now those guys will be in charge in a lot of ways on a national level. Alex Jones believes that he has been deprived of the life extension technology and that the culprits are aliens and the devil.
Let me just say,
that guy is now on the air with Roger Stone, who is one of Trump's top henchmen, together right now. So the crazy people are in charge. So it's not done yet, but the insane are about to take over the asylum. So we're this close.
I just wanted to say, if there was life extension technology, I would make it my life goal. I would quit everything that I do, and I would make it my life goal to ensure that Alex Jones is deprived of that.
Can I give a couple of quick updates?
Yeah.
Some of these are done, some are not done. So, we said that Florida was called, I believe. Russ Feingold is down by 6 or 7 points at this point.
Unbelievable.
In Wisconsin.
Up like 7, 8 points 3 weeks ago.
He should easily win this.
James Comey.
Yeah, and Zephyr Teachout is down by 6 points in New York. Super strong progressive, down by 6 points in this fucking crazy country we have.
But look, guys, the angry, unlikely voters showed up. So it's not Comey that did in Zephyr Teachout, right? It hurt Russ Feingold. It certainly hurt Hillary Clinton. But the anger towards Hillary Clinton's emails, I don't know that it reverberates enough to do in Zephyr Teachout a super strong progressive in New York. No, a lot of guys showed up to vote for Trump. And when they did, they voted against every Democrat they saw. And so that's why the Republicans are going to hold the Senate. They're going to hold the House. And now we're on the verge of a political bloodbath. So now there are no liberals left to defend us, right? So, yeah, Bernie's there, Elizabeth Warren is there, and boy, they're going to be on the warpath. But Feingold looks like he's gone. Zephyr Teachout didn't make it to Congress. And the list goes on. And by the way, here's another topic that we can talk about. Let me do it real quick. The Republican obstructionism on the Supreme Court worked. So they held, and they would not confirm a justice for a record-breaking, nearly a year, a record-breaking amount of time. And they just said, I don't care. We're not going to do our jobs. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. We're obstructionists. Meanwhile, our idiot press called it even. I don't know who's responsible for the obstructionism. Could be Republicans. It could be Obama. Obama didn't play enough golf with them.
Democrats do it too, right? He was a guy who really spent his whole first 4 years reaching out, getting rejected on reaching out, only didn't make a horrible grand bargain because the Tea Party wouldn't make that deal. Gets accused of not reaching out.
And so now their obstructionism is going to lead to a conservative Supreme Court instead of a progressive Supreme Court.
Maybe the Democrats won't.
So that goes to the core of it, Ben, right? So now the Democrats, who never, ever fight, they just sat there. They're like,
they didn't even use it as the electoral bludgeon that they expected to, because they had this gift giving them every day in Donald Trump. And so that's all they did, was talk about Trump and try and tie these candidates to Trump. I'm not saying I wouldn't have done the same thing, but it didn't work, obviously.
Look, I got to be honest. I was. I don't want to say it now because it's a terrible time, and it sounds like, oh yeah, you're trying to take credit at a bad time. But I told you, every strategy they had was stupid. They kept saying, oh, we're going to emphasize how bad Trump is. For the people voting for Trump, that wasn't the bug, it was the feature. And you kept advertising it for him. Hey, look at this guy. He's against all the guys you're against. Oh, thanks for letting me know. I guess I'll show up and vote, right? No, you had to hit him on what a loser he was, what an incompetent he was. But they never bothered to go to that strategy. Oh, we'll tell you one more time what a bigot he is. No, tell us about his bankruptcies. You never talked about his bankruptcies. You never talked about any of the obstruction they did, and the press called it even. And now we're going to get a conservative Supreme Court. And you know what will happen? You think the Democrats will do the same? You know what the Republicans promised right before the election? John McCain and others said, we're not going to confirm for 4 years. Okay? If Hillary Clinton wins, we're never going to confirm. And they said there's nothing wrong with an 8-person Supreme Court. Do you think Democrats will do likewise? First of all, they don't have the Senate, so they're all out of options. Now, they could do a filibuster on a Supreme Court nominee. You think the Republicans won't take it away? You think the Republicans won't take away the filibuster? And you think the Democrats will hold strong? Here, I got news for you. They won't. They will buckle, and they'll buckle super, super easy because they're a party of weaklings. And that is not by accident. It is by design. Because what do the donors fund? They fund strong right-wingers and weak Democrats. So the Democrats will go, oh, God, there was nothing I could do. Oh, the Republican Congress or the Republicans made me do this. Okay, you win. Let's do more tax cuts for corporations, etc. So that is what the donors fund. If the donors see a strong Democrat, they run from the building. They go, whoa, that sounds like a radical. That sounds like a populist. That sounds like somebody who might raise my taxes by 1%. I'm going to go ahead and fund the weakest Democrats in the world. And so that is the system that produces this. So now it looks like, as Trump is on the verge of victory here tonight, that you're going to have a conservative Supreme Court for God knows how long. Because not only is there an empty seat, but there's a lot of old Supreme Court justices. Donald Trump, not only is he going to give you a giant right-winger, his first choice, when they first asked about him a long time ago during the early parts of the primaries, was Judge Napolitano, the Fox News contributor. Okay, you should have talked about what an imbecile he is. You should have taken away any pride he had. You should have talked about all he had was daddy's money so that the people going in there to vote wouldn't have thought this is the strong man who's going to go after our enemies. They would have thought this is the pathetic guy who couldn't manage his way out of a paper bag. They let this incompetent win. Talk about how historically pathetic the Democratic Party is. That they let this guy who has never had any success in business, he's had a track record of monumental failure. And they let him win the presidency and become the most powerful. The Democratic Party is gone. Before the election, we talked about, there might be a Republican civil war. I didn't talk about it, but the rest of the press couldn't stop talking about it. Oh, what will the Republicans do, right? No. The question is, what's the Democratic Party going to do to rise from the ashes? Because they are in ashes. Any continual path down this corporatist, moderate, so-called moderate, nowhere near moderate, it's right-wing, the so-called centrist, no, it's all on behalf of their donors. Any further steps that way, and I'll tell you this right now, we are in total fucking war, okay? I'm not talking about the Republican Party. Yeah, sure, I'm happy to be at war with them. I'm happy to be at war with Trump, and it looks like I'm going to be for 4 years. But I'm at war with the Democratic Party, this corporatist, weak, spineless, pathetic party that lets the imbeciles on the Republican side walk all over this country, that handed power to a raging, not just bigot, but an incompetent. The last time we had one like that, what do we have? The Iraq War, Hurricane Katrina, and the Great Recession. We're going to have it again, and it's because the Democratic Party doesn't know how to win because they're paid to lose. And I'm done with the losers, and I'm done with those donors. I don't give a fuck what the donors want, okay? So the DNC, you think we're coming for you? You're goddamn right we're coming for you. We're going to pulverize the DNC. We're going to rip it to shreds so that none of those idiot loser corporatists could ever screw up an election like this again. So, yes, we are at war now. So even if by some miracle here, as we're past 11 o'clock Eastern in our live coverage, by some miracle Hillary Clinton wins, I don't care. We're still at war. We're still at war. because you are this close to handing Trump ultimate power on this planet. Are you insane? You pathetic losers. I'm tired of you taking money to lose. No, we're going to go to war. We're going to shred him. There's no more talk of corporatists. There's no more talk of Evan Loser Buys and all these Patrick Murphy. I'm done with all of them. So rise up, everybody. Rise up. Okay? And by the way, you know what the goddamn answer is. Get money out of politics. With money in politics, this is the disaster that we had. Because it wasn't just that they bought the Republican Party. The most important thing was they bought the Democratic Party. Wolf-pack.com. Everybody join today. Everybody. And if you don't think Wolfpack's the right answer, you think there's a better way to get money out of politics, for God's sake, join it today. Join whatever you think is the right cause today, because here's what's not coming to the rescue. The Democratic Party. They are not coming to the rescue. They're a bunch of pathetic losers who are groveling to their donors for what's next. Go to war. Go to war. Wolf-pack.com. Join today. Give money if you can. Volunteer if you can. Get out in the streets. You know what we do? We go play hardball politics. Here, let me tell you a quick story. There's a guy named Steve Valancourt up in New Hampshire. He opposed us in New Hampshire. Did we play fucking golf with him? Is that what we did at Wolfpack? No, we didn't listen to the stupid press telling us to have beer summits. We sent our Wolfpack Team 6 into New Hampshire. We went and knocked on every door. You know what we did? He was a 6-term incumbent. We handed him his ass. He lost because we know how to do politics. They don't know how to do politics. We do because we're not beholden to the donors. You know what we do? We actually appeal to voters. We're gonna go after them in every conceivable way. And so they think I'm the enemy. Yeah, goddamn right I'm your enemy if you keep taking that goddamn donor money and destroying this country. New York Times now has it at
like 95%.
They called North Carolina.
95% chance that Donald Trump is going to be
at
president.
538 still had it at 50-50. It's now 37%.
North Carolina has been called. It goes to Donald Trump. And Wisconsin and Michigan still leaning red. Brought to you by the fucking morons at the Democratic Party.
I mean, you're 100% right. And the thing about Trump, in every level, in every one of these fights, the opposition has made the mistake of trying to fight on his terms. We're going to call you names. We're going to call you stupid. You're a bad guy, blah, blah, blah. And you just like you said, instead of offering an alternative, these are the policies. What's his policy? He's got bankruptcies. He's a failed businessman, blah, blah, blah. They didn't go after any of that. They went after the name calling and the emotional stuff, the sexist, racist stuff, and it didn't work. And it never worked against him. Exactly what you said. That's appealing to his base when you say that. You point out what they consider his most attractive qualities.
So in Star Trek, in the original series, there's a monster. It's hard to forget it because it's such an appealing concept, right? Like you instantly get it. They go down to this planet and they fire the phasers, but the monster feeds off of the energy of the phasers. So every time they fire at it, it gets bigger and stronger. See, unlike the Democrats, they figured out, stop firing the phasers. And so in this case, the phasers are, oh, he's a bigot. Oh, he's racist. Oh, he's sexist. You know what the American people heard? They heard he's not a politician. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So whether it's, and by the way, mainstream media, I got to stop ranting about you because you're on the fucking precipice of death. You're becoming so goddamn irrelevant. So you and your pathetic predictions and your constant he said, she said, both sides do it bullshit. You know what the American people are sick of? And now I can speak for them because we were right about warning you that this stuff was going to work on the Trump side and the populism was coming. We were right about that. And you were wrong about it. You thought the establishment was hunky goddamn dory. Well, look, people don't like fakeness. They don't like it. They like authentic things. So right now, I don't know what CNN is doing, but I bet if you turn into their live coverage now, they're all very hushed tones. Okay, now reporting for Wisconsin still going to Donald Trump. Nobody's saying, hey, we're going to war. Nobody's saying, hey, oh my God, this was a monumental, grotesque failure of the Democratic Party that every single person at the DNC should be fired, because they're not that animated. They don't care. Oh, I'm a news actor. What does it say in the prompter? Let me read the goddamn prompter. I get paid for this. Am I still getting $10 million a year? Great. Let me read the goddamn prompter. So TikTok, okay? So, okay, hang on to your 68-year-old audience, okay? But the younger people have no interest in Wolf Blitzer reading anything to them. No interest at all. So keep on reading your stupid-ass script. We're going to murder you, okay? We're going to end you. We're going to finish you, okay? Because we're authentic, and you are a bunch of actors, and you don't care about the news, and so it's only a matter of time. So good night and good luck with that.
Well, I just can't get over the fact that you keep talking about the populist thing. So they squashed the populist in their own party, which was Bernie, and we now know elevated the populist in their opposition party, in the Republican Party, thinking that we'll crush that guy. And I thought the mistake was going to be that they were going to beat Trump this time, and then they were going to do the same thing in 4 years, thinking they were going to, and that was when they were going to lose. And here it is right now. It's exactly the same thing. People are really hurting. What Howard Dean said 13 years ago was, if you want to know why half the country isn't voting, it's because you have to give them something to vote for. And all they gave us was something to vote against. And this is the result. This is the result of taking all those Goldman Sachs speeches the year before you decided to run for president, even when your internal memos revealed that your own staff was telling you not to do this. So this is the result of all that. I hope those checks were worth it, because this is the result of it. The good news is that we're all going to fight together to return our country to the country it was supposed to be a long time ago. What started with Ronald Reagan, we now have to start working to unwind, because it's here now. And I think it will happen. I think people will come together now.
All right, let me give you some of the latest results. Where we stand now, because they're not called. New Hampshire is 60% reporting. Trump's got a 48.2 to 46.4 lead. So obviously 1.8 percentage lead there. That is not good news, but it's not over. In Pennsylvania, Clinton has a 2.3% lead with 81% reporting. That is good news, okay? So, look, the lead was much, much larger, but that was never real. They just hadn't counted the Republican parts yet. And to what degree Republican and Democratic parts are left, I don't know. Maybe Ben can tell us about that more later. But she is holding on to a 2.3% lead, which means she can still win. Yes, it's only a 5% chance now. But she can still win, but in order to do so, she has to win Wisconsin and Michigan, which we previously thought was not an issue, but it most certainly is an issue now. In Michigan, with 53% reporting, he has a 1.9% lead. Look, these are not over, okay? So that's a lot of votes still left to count in Michigan, and his lead is only about 2 points. In Wisconsin, we've got 65% reporting. His lead is 3 points. That is more troubling. It is a larger lead, and it is more people reporting, okay? So that's the same Wisconsin that just killed Russ Feingold tonight. So Wisconsin, by the way, used to be one of the most liberal states in the country. And now you've got Scott Walker, who reports to the Koch brothers as his boss, as the governor. You're going to put Ron Johnson back in the Senate, and Wisconsin might kill any chance of Hillary Clinton becoming president and put Trump in the White House. So that's the place we're in now, which then makes me think, okay, maybe Alonzo's right. Maybe this is who America is.
Yeah, I mean, to listen to our frustration and how upset we are, I'm hearing the Fox News audience when Barack Obama got elected, and the world was going to come to an end, and everything they knew, everything in their America was going to go away, and they were going to lose their guns and their liberty and so on. They were saying the same thing. The big difference is that they had the power of the obstructionist Republican Congress and Senate, and the Democrats have no power. And what you said about Democrats not being able to fight, I mean, I've been saying that for so long. You got to learn to fight dirty. You got to fight on that. You got to get down on the ground and scrap with these people, and they don't do it. They fight amongst themselves, and they talk about aiming high. America doesn't aim high. America goes for the throat. America, that's what works, and they didn't do it. And we can second guess it all now, but now it might be too late. Like you said, there's a 95% chance that this is too late, and the people who are going to get hurt by it won't feel it for a while. They won't feel it for a while, but they're going to feel it, and we will be living in a different country.
For whatever it's worth, I think it's worth a lot. 538 has just a 61% chance that Trump wins, and as you look at the numbers, it's worth. Hillary Clinton is down, counting everything that, like on a Huffington Post right now. Huffington Post, according to Huffington Post, Hillary Clinton has won the presidency. 98% chance. She has 197 electoral votes, giving her Oregon and Washington, Colorado, New Mexico. If you won Maine and the 3 electoral votes, assuming Trump won that other district in Maine, Pennsylvania, 23, Michigan, 16 is 39, Wisconsin, 49, Minnesota, 59, Washington, 71, Nevada, 77. That's 274, and she's president. So you got to run that table.
Apparently, Detroit, there's still a lot.
Okay. Yeah, Michigan's gotten close. It's not. It's within the realm of possibility. It's what do we got? 56,000 votes in Detroit now.
So the money doesn't.
Into Michigan.
So the Democrats for a long time now have thought that if I raise more money, I'm a winner.
That's right.
So I just need to raise more money, and whatever I can do to raise more money, that's what I need to do. If it means turning my back on working people and unions and getting in bed with Wall Street and Silicon Valley and exporting jobs and doing trade deals that screw over our own people and leave no safety net for the people left behind, we're going to do it. This is the result of it. So we'll see what happens.
So I wanted to give you guys a sense of what exactly conservatives would do with all the power that they're going to have in this country. And I think these 2 ballot measures in Oklahoma kind of perfectly summarize what the religious right wants in America. So there are 2 ballot measures in Oklahoma that have passed, okay? And one of them is the execution methods one that I had described earlier on. Essentially, it says that the state will still continue with using controversial drugs to carry out executions, even though courts will be looking at these cases to figure out whether or not it is constitutional. There was that high-profile case of a man who was executed with a controversial drug. He suffered for 45 minutes before he finally had a heart attack and died. Okay, so Oklahoma voters say, nah, we don't care if it's pain and suffering. We're going to go ahead and pass this ballot measure. 66.5% said yes. Now, here's another ballot measure that should give you a sense of how messed up things could get. There was also a measure about funds for religious use. The measure would allow public money to be spent for religious purposes. 57.1% voted no. But 42.9% voted yes. And even though it didn't pass, it's still a huge chunk of people that think it's okay for government money to be used for religious purposes. Now, do you think it's going to be used equally or allocated equally across all religions? Of course not.
Some for Buddhists,
right? But
some for Hindus.
Mary Fallon's the governor of Oklahoma, and any ounce of normal leadership when you execute a guy and it takes 45 minutes for him to die, and they don't know how to, and the suffering is indisputed.
Yeah.
I mean, no one's saying they get out. All you say is, until we solve this, we're not going to have the death penalty. That's what any sane country would do. Mm-hmm. They would just say, they're in prison for their life, and if we figure it out at a later date, maybe we'll bring the death penalty back. I thought that we were actually headed toward a moment where the Supreme Court might overturn the death penalty, but we're looking at at least 2, probably Donald Trump Supreme Court justices, so it's not going to happen.
The big winner tonight seems to be marijuana, though, and that's a good thing because we need something to ease
the
pain. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm going to do as soon as I get home tonight. North Dakota, with 71.5% of the vote of course, that's not all of it, but Politico is reporting that North Dakota has voted yes on medicinal marijuana, 64.1%. Okay, so Politico again is calling it. And then Massachusetts is still looking good for recreational marijuana. It's still a tight lead, but it's still looking very good. 59.9% reporting.
So did you just say California has approved it?
No. I'm talking about Massachusetts. So
Okay,
59.9% reporting, and the yes vote is leading 53 to 46.
Okay, California has approved Prop 64. Marijuana is now legal
Oh,
in
they
California.
have? Okay.
Yes. So smoke them if you got them. Light up right now.
Can I add just one? Because as we're going over those numbers that take Trump to Clinton to like 277, but there's a great scenario here where she actually comes back, wins New Hampshire, but maybe doesn't win Nevada, right? And then there's a number here where this night gets better and she hits 270, and then that jackass elector in Washington.
Oh God!
Sends it to the House, and then we
Oh,
probably
maybe that
not
person.
get Donald Trump. Then we get President Pence, probably.
Yeah.
The House.
No Paul Ryan.
Yeah,
or
just-
Marco Rubio.
I think this is just for historical sake. We got this whole way. He never released his taxes.
Never, the guy running
We
for
never
president
got
never
it. We
released
live in
taxes.
a- we live
He
in
didn't
a
pay
world-
tax. We know he said it. He didn't pay taxes. That's why he didn't release it.
I crunched some numbers. I think a third of the world population are hackers now. We couldn't get one of his tax returns. How many thousands of emails did we break down in excruciating detail to make sure that we understand? What's that? We got one, didn't we? His tax? No. We got his personal filings, and we got some information from 1978 or something like that.
95. We got
95.
Yeah,
But
95.
thank God, we had access to the important information for the election.
You know why we got that tax return? It is, maybe saying likely is a little strong, but there is a very good chance that Trump sent that in. So for those of you who missed that story, the tax returns were sent to the New York Times from the Trump Tower. Okay, so it might have been an insider at the Trump Tower. That's why he sent it from there. It didn't say who sent it. It didn't know, but they got it. And then from my recollection of the rest of the story, it had a couple of details where I was like, oh my God, that sounds like Trump. So why would Trump send his 95 tax returns? Well, that had the $914 million loss on it or whatever, right? Because that goes to show you, well, you see that? That's why I didn't pay any taxes, because I had that big loss. I was right. And I was smart to take that loss. Now, if you were the Democrats, what you would have done is, look at this pathetic guy who lost $914 million in 1 year. Jesus Christ, how bad a businessman is he, right? They never went down that path. So instead, we got, give us more. So look, here, I'll do more political prognostication on how to do politics right, because I think I've earned it, okay? So regular people don't care about things like you didn't release your tax returns. That's like a Washington thing, okay?
Oh, they might care about the details that are revealed in that.
That's right. That's why you don't release them. If I was Trump, there's no force on earth that would have got me to release my tax returns, which would have proved how little money I make, how much I cheated on my taxes. Oh, boo-hoo, you didn't release your taxes. People aren't going to vote based on whether you released your taxes or not, right? They thought it was a good strategy to say that the Republicans, are blocking the Supreme Court justice. They didn't do it enough, some claim, and we talked about it earlier in the show. But in reality, that's not what people vote on, right?
I agree.
They vote on strength, okay? They vote on in essence, two things, right? Do I like you, and are you strong, okay? And so it is that simple. It is that simple. And when you talk like a simpleton, they think, oh, that guy's not fake. That guy is not fake like all the stupid politicians who roll up their sleeves and take off their jackets. And he has a veneer of authenticity, and he's going around knocking everybody down.
Yeah.
That means he's strong. So what are you supposed to do? You were supposed to knock him off his strong pedestal. You were supposed to make him look weak. But after all these years, Democrats still don't get it. They think, oh, well, I showed them that, I'll go halfway towards Republicans. Other than the fact that it's not what the American people are interested in policy-wise, according to the polling, but more importantly, the giant signal you're sending when you say, I'll meet the Republicans halfway is, I am weak, they are strong. And once you send that signal, you're screwed. And that's why you've got a political bloodbath tonight.
Can I give you a bit of good news?
Yeah,
Yes.
This is good news. It's tiny. Going for his seventh term as Maricopa County Sheriff, Joe Arpaio has lost.
Oh, thank God.
Sheriff Joe is
something.
out. I never
Here's
thought that would happen.
here's some other good news. 13,000 votes in Michigan. Michigan's almost tied.
Oh, that is good news.
Michigan's almost tied. Again, Michigan Wisconsin, Minnesota, Nevada, Washington.
I would
It's
say
possible. It's possible.
It's possible.
So
And holding, obviously, in Pennsylvania and New Hampshire would give New
Wait,
Hampshire, which is not.
I just realized, based on my prediction record, I now predict that Hillary Clinton will lose.
Okay.
By the way, and in 538, numbers they moved Clinton from 37% to 40%.
The scary thing about Sheriff Joe being out of work is he's now available for the Trump administration.
Oh my God!
Oh no!
Sheriff
By the
Joe's
way,
gonna be
boo
looking
this
for a
man.
job.
By the way, head of Homeland Security. That would be
Oh
my
my
guess.
God!
You know, maybe DEA head. Maybe, by the way, maybe head of the FBI. Like
Yeah, top cop.
ATF,
top
he's
cop.
got experience.
Yep.
He's ridden a tank.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Steven Seagal could be the head of the fucking ATF in a couple months.
I just got a text that we have more people watching us than ABC.
So, I look probably online right now. We've got we've got over 130,000 people watching us. It's unprecedented for online, and so bless your hearts. By the way, keep sharing because this election's not over. Look, as we've been right on a lot of things here, and so the other thing we're telling you is that the election's not over. If it was over, I'd be the first one to tell you, right? But it's not. Again, most of the press is now swung to an overreaction that it's over. I've maintained all night that Nate Silver is closest to right. He was closest to right going in. He's been closest to right in not panicking in either direction. So, and I'm not trying to delude you here. Her chances are still slim. You still got to run the table. But she can win Michigan, Wisconsin, and then either New Hampshire or Nevada, and she wins. And she's got to hold Pennsylvania, right? So that's a lot of ifs, but it's not out of the question, right? And by the way, that changes none of my commentary from tonight. We're going to war against the DNC no matter what, because if they survive this, the lesson is not let's go more in that direction. No. The building has to be torn down, okay? Whether they survive it or not, whether we survive it, the world survives it or not. And by the way, think about if she comes back and wins. Now, every conservative in the country is going to say rigged. Because they're going to think, because they're not smart, they're going to think, we had it. New York Times told me I had a 95% chance of winning. And then at the end, no, it doesn't work that way. You vote and then you count. The count is what's coming in, right? Not the voting. And at the end, they stole it from us. Then batten down the hatches for that if that unlikely scenario happens. So, but it is not over. She can still pull out all those states, and that is not wishful thinking. It is real.
Is there any way we can blame this on the Cubs? Just any way that with all due respect, Chicago, come on.
The curse has been shifted onto the American people.
Wow.
Imagine Press Secretary Corey Lewandowski.
Oh, Jesus.
All of it's going to happen. If Trump wins,
Chief of Staff
all
Paul
nightmare
Manafort.
scenarios are on the table.
So there's no. I'm trying to see if there's a scenario without Wisconsin.
There isn't.
There isn't. 268 looks to be the highest you can get to without
Georgia hasn't been called.
Wisconsin, unless she gets all 4 of the electoral votes in Maine, in which case we're at 269, and then you're in the tie. Without Wisconsin,
Well, look,
but with New Hampshire.
Look, you know what's still possible? My exact prediction. She wins Virginia, Pennsylvania, Colorado, and she pulls out New Hampshire and gets Wisconsin and Michigan, in which case that would be the exact 272 that I predicted ahead of time.
Fox has called Wisconsin for Trump.
Really?
Well, that's that.
If
That's
Fox
according to
is
Michael
right,
Shore.
first of all, this I'm not going for, okay? That might turn out to be completely right, but it might not. Remember, last time Fox called a close election, it was a total and utter lie. It was George Bush's cousin at their so-called election headquarters who called Florida, and he was wrong. Al Gore wound up winning the recount in Florida well after the fact. So hold on Fox News calling a goddamn election, okay? So now, if others follow suit and they call Wisconsin, it is over, and he will be president.
Because the best she could do is tie. I find it And the numbers are terrible in Wisconsin. I mean, Michigan pulled to within. She's now down 14,000 votes in Michigan with 62% in. So let's presume things go well. It's like Virginia, and she gets that. But Wisconsin, with 71% in, it's 70,000 votes. You know, and in Wisconsin, 70,000 votes means a lot more than 70,000 votes in Michigan. So, I don't. My hunch is they're right. That's why I was busy trying to figure out if there was a way to win this without Wisconsin. By the way, the way to win it without Wisconsin would be to somehow have them be wrong and you steal Iowa. But Iowa's gone the wrong way. Arizona. But Arizona, they're all the same. They're all about the same percentage, 3.5 to 4 points in every one of those states. And Iowa, the polling was particularly terrible, and Iowa's a full 5-point lead. But Wisconsin is 3.4, and Arizona is 3.6.
Georgia still hasn't been called.
I know Georgia still hasn't been called. By the way, she's losing in Washington, but it's close.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, congratulations. The largest state in the union was called for Hillary Clinton, California. Okay, and so was Oregon. Totally irrelevant at this point. Also, by the way, great system we have here, this electoral college, where the largest state in the union, that if it was an independent country would be the 7th largest economy in the world, is irrelevant to our presidential politics.
I know.
Yeah. And by the way, the 3 largest states, not just California, New York, Texas, which is red, all irrelevant. We have eliminated our 3 largest states. All the citizens in them, their votes are completely irrelevant to who becomes president. That's beyond insane. When are we going to change this goddamn thing?
Well, we never think about it until the night of the presidential election. This is true of both sides. This is the same thing that was said, in past elections. Whenever they complain about the Electoral College, it's on Election Day. And then the next day, it's completely forgotten about. And if you're going to change it, you have to change it in between elections.
By the way, you know who's partly at fault for that too? Again, the weak Democrats.
Yeah.
Why? My God, in 2000, you won the election, you idiots. You won the popular vote. And by the way, when they recounted the whole state of Florida, you won that too.
Yes.
But you didn't bother complaining about it. That is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So they just rolled over. Oh, well, we don't want to create any havoc. You're the ones who won the election, but yet they took the presidency. What do you mean you don't want to cause trouble? You know what that says? We're paid to lose. So we lost and we took it like champs. Imagine if the Republicans had won the popular vote and then on a recount had won Florida and had won the election. You know what we would have had? We would have had civil war on our hands. Okay? But the Democrats are like, yes, sir, thank you, sir, absolutely, sir, right? So why do we have the Electoral College? Because the guys who got screwed out of a win, the Democrats, never made a peep about it.
Georgia's been called for Trump.
Georgia's called. Florida. New York Times is much more conservative than other organizations in actually calling the states, okay? Not in the percentage chance of Trump winning, but in calling the states. They finally called Florida.
Well, it's 132,000 votes. I mean, remember George W. Bush led by, it ended up being 537, I think, something like that.
537.
537 votes, but it was like 1,100 when they started the recount, and this is 132,000. So it's not.
And this basically fits in with what you said, but to flesh out a little bit more, I mean, we had an opportunity to make Election Day a national holiday. We could have pushed when we had the supermajority for automatic registration for everybody. I mean, we look at this map, and this is what happened in these states, but we have no idea what effect there was that some of these states don't have early voting. Most don't have mail-in voting, obviously. There was voter suppression, and there were polling places shut down, and there was voter intimidation. And there was in Florida, because of the hurricane, thankfully the Republican governor cut off registration. Thankfully, a judge extended it a little bit. And so voter suppression is sending just waves rippling throughout all of this, and many of the states would end up going in the same way, but we've got Florida, which is a little bit over 1 point in one direction, and there's systemic voter suppression throughout Florida.
So, okay, here.
And like you said, we have a party that goes hardcore to stop as many people as possible from voting, and we have another party that protects it a little bit and doesn't really prioritize it and doesn't hurt them with ads and point out that this is an anti-democratic party that wants to stop as many people as possible from ever engaging with our political process.
We're going to rebuild the Democratic Party to the point where they're going to be afraid of us. So enough with the weaklings. So the pendulum will swing too far, okay? And then I'll warn you about it when it gets to that point. Up until then, keep on swinging, okay? Because look, this uneven playing field is killing us. When they do election fraud and they just say, okay, I'm removing, hundreds of polling stations in the South. Now that the Voting Rights Act is not enforced anymore, oh, look at that, it's all in black areas. And I just removed all those polls. There's nothing you could do about it. What do the Democrats say in their usual, yes sir, no? Well, golly gee, you shouldn't do that. No. Now you want to hear a radical idea? I said it a couple of days ago on the show before the election, because unlike everybody else, I wasn't taking it as a given. You do likewise. You've got Democratic mayors all across the country. You go, oh, look at that, man. Oh, my heavily Republican suburb. I got budget issues, man. I got budget issues. I shut down all of your polling stations. You shut down one of ours, we shut down two of yours. Okay, and you know where you're going to have to vote now? You're going to have to come into West Philadelphia and North Philadelphia, and you're going to have to vote there. What? What's the problem? I got budget issues. You said you had budget issues. I've got budget issues. You're African Americans and registered Democrats can't vote in the South? No problem at all. Now, Republicans in the suburbs of the North can't vote either. Okay? Hey, I got budget issues. You told me that it wasn't election fraud at all. The Republicans told me that there was nothing wrong with closing down polling stations. Close them down. Every Democratic mayor should be closing down all those polling stations. But you know what the media will call that? Radical. How come they don't call it radical when the Republicans do it? You know what the Democratic Party will do? Oh, no. Don't do that. They close one of ours, we close 10 of theirs, okay? That's how you fight back in politics. You know why? Because do I want less people voting? No, I want everybody voting. Even if Republicans win, I want everybody voting because I'm an American and I believe in democracy. But why do I do it? It's so that the Republicans say, uncle. And they go, okay, all right, maybe we won't close all the black polling stations. Yeah, that's goddamn right. If I close enough of your polling stations, maybe then we'll have an even conversation about closing the goddamn polling stations. But what does the Democratic Party do? Oh, please don't do that. Oh, I do declare I got a cocktail party to go to in D.C. Oh, please don't do it. You know what I want to call them. So let's just leave it at that. You guys want to play hardball? You want to play politics? Or you want to keep getting your ass handed to you by the likes of Trump, you weaklings?
Just be strong, okay? Just say what you want to say.
Mm-hmm. It's true, though. Incredible. It's true. That is a strategy that has worked for them continually. They tried that strategy with Obama's election. Yeah, just shut down polling places, make it harder to vote. Now, the thing with Barack Obama was he was so popular, people were like, fine, I'll wait 10 hours in line, but I'm voting, because they loved him. And people did not love Hillary Clinton enough to do that. To get out and vote. People got out and voted for Obama no matter how hard they made it to do, people did it. And this election, it didn't happen. And you're absolutely right. The Democrats never pick up that fight. That's what I'm talking about. Get dirty.
Yeah.
Shut down polling places. Make it difficult for Republicans to vote. Scare the hell out of them. You know, bus voters in. Get some buses. Say, hey, you're not allowed to vote here. We going out to the suburbs.
Yes.
And a row of buses and make... You
want black people to vote in your suburbs? Deal.
Yeah, here we go.
I'm going to bring in planes, trains, and automobiles, okay? You want black people, we're going to give you black people, more than you can handle. You know how quickly they reopen those polling stations in black areas? You see buses full of black people. Okay, yeah, we're here at your polling station. Oh, we'll wait all fucking day, right? All of a sudden, hey, you know what? Maybe we should reopen those polling stations, right? That's how you play politics if you care to win. If you're not paid to lose like the Democrats are.
You know, the Democratic Party became the party of Wall Street, became the party of continuing neocon wars. We have a Peace Prize president who's currently bombing 7 different countries. You know, they said that Bernie was a pipe dreamer and a fairy duster, and it turns out the idea of Hillary Clinton being president was the fairy dust pipe dream that everybody didn't see. Democrats were given a populist movement handed to them on a silver platter by Bernie Sanders, and they arrogantly rejected it. And who rejected it? The money people inside the DNC. Exactly what Cenk said. Their first business was to make sure they defeated Bernie Sanders, the populists, the people who wasn't serving power and Wall Street. They had to defeat him first. In fact, They elevated a populist, Donald Trump. And what did it do? It came back to bite them in the ass. So it's time for us all to become activists. We're the ones who have the power. We always did have the power, and now we're going to have to take it. You know, when Nixon was president, we talked about it before. When Nixon was president, that's when we got the EPA. That's when we got OSHA. He actually proposed universal health care that is better than the health care we have right now. So it's time for us to organize and activate.
Okay, look, this is with Trump now in the precipice of victory, because Wisconsin's really shaky, right?
No one else near as I can tell
has called. No one's called it other than Fox News. It's not over yet, okay? But it being on the ropes here. Look, this turns into real rebel headquarters. So you want real media that's going to speak truth to power instead of being mealy-mouthed and calling everything even? Well, then you join us, tytnetwork.com/join. You make us stronger. The stronger we are, you like Jordan Chariton in the field, challenging Democrats. He's the one that took down Donna Brazile. Thank God for that, okay? He's the one at the Dakota Access Pipeline. Give me 10 Jordan Charitons. Look at the damage I could do. Let's do some real reporting. Let's do some real news. You know, when's the last time CNN broke a story? Never, because they don't want to disrupt the system. If your business model is the status quo, why would you want investigative reporters that bother the status quo? Give me more Jordan Charitons. Give us more reporters. Give us more hosts. tytnetwork.com/join. This is Rebel Headquarters. And then that's to change the media. And you know how important the media was, right? And then we got to change the government. wolf-pack.com. Volunteer today. Donate today. If you can't volunteer, give them $10 a month. Look, give them $27 a month. They're doing a drive right now. So all the Bernie Sanders supporters and all the Democrats who were lied to, saying, hey, don't worry, fall asleep. Hillary Clinton's got this figured out. The Democratic Party has it figured out. The establishment has it figured out. They were wrong. They lied to you. Come join us. Go to wolf-pack.com. Be part of the movement to change this system, because the system is killing us. The money in politics not only corrupted the Republican Party, it destroyed the Democratic Party. Come join us at Rebel Headquarters, tytnetwork.com/join. Now, let me give you some numbers. Now we're looking at Michigan. 1.1% lead for Trump with 64% reporting. Look, I don't have the county by county. Maybe Ben has more, but that is doable. Now.
Yeah, you got it down to 30,000. It was down to 13,000. Now it's 30,000 votes in Michigan.
That's good news. What is not great news?
It was 13. Now it's gone a little
Wisconsin's not looking good.
Not only is Wisconsin not looking good, here comes Trump in Pennsylvania. 1.3% lead for Hillary Clinton with 79% reporting.
She's up by 67,000 votes out of 4.7 million cast. Let me see if Philadelphia has been counted. Yeah, a lot of Philadelphia has been counted. She obviously has a gigantic. Basically, she's up by 446,000 votes in Philadelphia County, but essentially the whole thing's been counted.
Okay, guys, we're on the edge here. It's almost over.
A lot of votes outstanding in Pittsburgh. I think she's going to hold on in Pennsylvania.
I'm not sure she's going to hold on in Pennsylvania. And then
I'm telling you, like in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, they've counted 23% of the vote. And
all right, that's good news. And she's leading. It's not like she's down in Pennsylvania.
Right,
she just has to.
She leads by 100,000 votes in Allegheny County with about 25% counted. So there could be some.
Wisconsin, 75% reporting.
Yeah, she's not going to win. That's where it's done.
49.1% to 45%, 45.7%. So that is 3.4% lead with 3/4 of the vote counted. 3.4%. That is a big lead.
74,000 votes. 74,000 votes counted in Wisconsin. And again, Fox called it. I mean, I got it. They made that. We shouldn't fall for it. They essentially decided the election in 2000 with an incorrect call, which they had to rescind. But, let me see. In Milwaukee, they've counted a lot of Milwaukee. There's not a whole wealth of votes counted. They've counted a fair amount of Madison. Again, if some of it hasn't been counted, and I would say that if she were down 10,000 votes, 15,000 votes, I'd feel pretty good that she was going to make that up. But there's no. The Fox is right. There's no votes. There's no votes there. Wisconsin is done. So the election's done. So we're best case scenario. I thought her best case scenario is 269, but she's not going to win that district in Maine. So it's not even a tie. Her best case scenario is 268 without Wisconsin. That's if she runs the board on Michigan and Minnesota, unless, she reverses Arizona. And that counts, by the way, that counts giving her New Hampshire.
Yeah. We were telling you that this race is not over. There was some outstanding chance. It's on its deathbed now. So now, unfortunately, we got to take a really quick break right now. Okay, so stay with us. We'll be right back. And obviously, if Wisconsin gets called by others, we're going to call the race. And then you think we're talking about now the ramifications. Yeah, we talked about the ramifications of the Democratic Party and what they did wrong. We've yet begun to touch on the parade of horribles and deplorables that is headed in our direction with the Trump administration. We'll talk about the cabinet positions. It's going to be devastating. Come right back.